Hey, we got numbers.
Hey, welcome to the ClevelandMoto Podcast, episode number 464. It's Tom's birthday. It's Sleepy's birthday. Light them up, boys.
29. This is crazy.
Right? 29. You're going to be 53.
Yes, sir.
Tom's going to be 50.
I'm going to be 50.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Mere children.
We're old.
This ain't the fucking kids table.
I'm already getting the, what's the AARP stuff? I'm already getting that.
You
get that on the day of, yeah.
Sign up. Trust me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. I get it.
There's a lot of discounts. There's a whole lot of shit that honors ARP.
I faked my credentials.
I snuck in on a technicality.
They're like, we don't need to see your card, sir. You're fine.
No.
No, they were just like, okay, yeah, no, we can see your balls from outside your pants. You're fine.
I get to join the sister org, gay ARP.
Gay ARP?
I mean,
What benefits do you get?
I can't say out loud.
Okay.
yeah, no, you got to be part of the club.
Yeah.
Got to join the club first.
It's very under the table.
He's at the Silver Fox level.
I don't know about that. It's kind of a multicolored fox.
Or is that point are we yes, exactly. Right. The fox of many colors.
A fox of many colors.
Yeah. So just all kinds of crap. I took off and went to Vegas for 4 days. Oh yeah, to my left. That's right. Thanks you. Good.
Well,
thank you.
actually, Johnny
Gets
Mac
right
is
along.
to your left, but he's
We'll catch him on the way back.
Invisible
in.
Johnny Mac.
That's right. Invisible Johnny Mac to my left. You'll hear him. Hear him snoring later. Dan Kromke did you bring booze too?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
We're going to get the booze.
No.
I brought nothing.
The booze fucking floweth on this podcast
God,
tonight.
yeah.
To his immediate left.
Steve Sleepy, who didn't ride because we're going on our big trip. So about 3 people here said, bring all the shit that you can't ride down with and we'll take it. And then they all rode here. So Tom, I'm leaving a bunch of shit here that
That's
somebody's
fine.
going to be picking up in the next few days.
That's fine.
Maybe a logistics problem later.
Yeah.
And to his immediate left is
Sean Noel.
hey Sean Noel, and to his immediate left
Pete Hemphley.
around the turn we've got
Chris Smith.
and behind the bar
Tom Bennington.
birthday boy. So
Spankings later.
many spankings later. I decided to fuck off and go to a bar that's closing in Vegas because that's what you do when you're an adult. And so I said, screw it, cheap airfare, we're going out there. It was great. Mandalay Bay, Lazy River, all the fun stuff. Went to the foundation room, had cocktails and meal up at the top, 63rd floor, looking out over the Vegas Strip. No fence. You want to jump? You want to end it all? 63 floors. There is nothing
That'll do it.
to stop you. Exactly. 63 floors. You're not getting your deposit back on that. You can stay in the penthouse and jump out the window.
I heard the first 62 are kind of fun.
I imagine they're great. Yeah.
It's not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop.
I imagine all of it getting up to terminal velocity is probably awesome.
Yeah.
And then at terminal velocity, you're like, what have I done?
Yes.
When you're no longer
And you know
accelerating.
what? That's far enough where you have a long time to regret that decision.
Right. You are not kidding. But it was fun. We had a really good time. Vegas is Vegas, right? We don't gamble at all. You know, we go to this Pinball Hall of Fame. We spend some time in there. But we're there to drink food, eat beverages, right? See entertainment.
All you can eat shrimp is what you gamble on.
I thought you guys
Not
lived
us.
off of the pineapples that came in the drinks.
We did great. But what I did want to call attention to is Vegas now has turned into the place where you will see the most Orange County choppers being actually ridden.
Really?
Yeah.
Not Not ironically.
Not ironically.
Is there some place that rents them?
Nope. Well, you know what? I can't answer that. But what I can tell you is I have to think that the people I saw riding them were the owners because of the amount of affliction they had been afflicted with. These guys were wearing the tip to toe, all the fucking ensemble of bejeweled sequined
They've all been bejazzled.
Ed Hardy.
denim jeans with more sequins and shit that you would be like, that's gaudy, right? Yeah, that's a bit much.
Liberace would like a word.
Their pants
Yeah.
on a chandelier.
Yeah, well, and then the shirts. What kills me is you just take a normal shirt, like a cotton shirt, but then you add 14. It's just not. It's a placeholder. Don't get upset.
I know, but that's so tasteful. That is the most tastefully
Sleep.
modified
It caught
bike.
my eye too. I was
They
like,
can exist.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Sleep.
Yeah.
But anyway, The
Focus.
But yeah, focus.
Sorry.
But anyway, this guy pulls up next to us, and we're of course in an Uber because fucking Vegas, right? And it's 98 degrees. So the guy pulls up next to us. He is wearing an Ed Hardy style shirt. I'm not going to say that it's Ed Hardy because I have a feeling this was well fucking past Ed Hardy.
This is the Kmart version of Ed Hardy.
No, the other way around.
This is
was
the
Fred
Gucci
Tardy?
version
Oh,
of Ed Hardy.
These are actual diamonds, not just rhinestones.
Okay, so he has the PJs, like the big fancy.
I didn't know you could put 2 Rolexes on one wrist. He did, right? Everything in this guy's ensemble was way the fuck over the top. But I looked over at him and I thought, I really can't get a read on how old this fella is because his skin had turned into a football at least 30 years ago.
He's been dead for 30 years.
And some doctor had pulled it further back. So he was permanently smiling and permanently alert. And he did. His face looked like a football. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That guy obviously has enough money to wear 2 Rolexes, ride a crappy motorcycle, wear that shirt.
Yeah. And his,
I'm in.
And his hair was from the Dog the Bounty Hunter collection.
Yeah.
So
Ed Hardy couldn't even afford that shirt.
No, it was fucking crazy, dude. It was a
we
crazy
go.
ensemble. But I looked over at this guy, and I just did one of those momentary, like, spit takes. Because I was like, there was a lot going on. So I tapped Renee, and I said, could you get a fucking load of this guy? Right? And she's like, oh, my God. And I went, yes. And he had 36-inch front wheel or 32-inch front wheel on the motorcycle, giant 300-octane wide tire on the back, and an impossible series of scallops and curves in between. And here he is. And like I said, if you told me he was 90, I got to believe you. If you told me he was 40, got to believe you too. Because fuck it, man. He's unidentifiable as human.
There is a weird. It's almost like a 30-year gap where you really can't tell.
You can't fucking tell
at all.
with the wrong plastic surgeon, I guess.
Yeah.
So Uber driver rolls down the window and goes, "Guy in the back says he loves your bike."
He did that too.
Yep.
And I mean, look, you're at a red light in Vegas 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, you'll wait.
Right? And so yeah, the Uber driver was totally keyed in, and the guy looks back over at me, and he just gave me the biggest fucking smile in the world.
Yep.
And these porcelain white
Yep.
veneers
Yep.
that could blind you. And he gives me this wave.
Sean's getting a boner over here.
I was gonna say, I am wetter than the Bellagio fountain.
He gives me a wave, and then I figured out how old he was. Because he had the granny flush.
The cray paper.
He had bingo arms.
The Pale Man, the Pan's Labyrinth, the Pale Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say wrist-gina was what was flapping at me. It was something. And I just went, oh, man, Vegas. He Vegased hard.
Wrist China.
And
gross.
we got to our terminal destination on that ride, and I was like, wow, that was really something. And so we hop off, and I hear the sound, and I hear this very, very, very loud vehicle. And what pulls up in front of us is a side-by-side desert racing rig that's not allowed at AMA Vintage Days that was at least 2 feet wider than what should have been, at least 2 feet in the air higher than what should have been. And the best that I can tell had about a 7,000 horsepower motor in it and at least 4,000 LED lights.
Oh. So it looked like a convenience store in Detroit.
It did.
It
did.
Right now on the Discovery Channel app, they have a new show called Mud Race or Mud something like that.
Okay.
I was watching that.
And it's kind of fun. It's whatever. But like somehow, I don't know how this production company did this. They are at these mega places with 20,000 people at it, and there's not one political flag. I don't know. Honestly,
They've scoured it.
I don't know how.
Or they told AI to remove all the political flags.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
It is the most insane thing. But at the same time, it's so funny because the people that they're focusing on in the show aren't really like. It seems like they're like kind of like trying to take advantage of the whole scene of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just pretty interesting. But
Hey, I got a buddy of mine who used to build motorcycle parts until he discovered side-by-sides, and that is all he does now.
well, yeah, there's
Right.
guys. So many. That's
it.
the thing. To your point, they have these things. They're 22 feet tall. Like they're on portal axles with 10 feet tall wheels and shit.
Well,
like
this
that.
thing
It's
showed
crazy.
up, and the tires that were on it are the tires that you would see on a donk. You know, the car tires that are about
Yeah.
1 inch of rubber.
Oh, so that
and
thing
about a
doesn't see any
32
dirt.
inch,
Yeah.
32 inch wheel.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you describe said operator of said vehicle?
They showed up, and they were those guys were the party guys. Those were the guys who showed up in the bright neon. If you think what the cast wore in the movie Idiocracy, the sponsorship, the level of sponsorship
Yeah.
was not lost on these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their clothes were all very, light and flowy, but adorned with sponsorship. And that's the thing is, like, guys who are in clubs now will have shirts made of their club, like nylon shirts.
Yep.
That would look like they're a race team. Like it would be like, Sherwin-Williams paint or whatever, but it's the name of their club. And then it has all the cool stuff, and then they had the pantalones that matched.
Well,
So,
I mean,
looked like pajamas.
Brondo does have what plants crave.
Yes, it is. And so Vegas is a freak show. I promise you that. Vegas has not settled down at all.
It's a hell.
Yeah.
It's hell on earth.
It's really
It's a
something.
hellscape.
But you know what? If you like people, I've been there, several times for work and a couple times for fun.
Yeah.
But like you, I don't gamble.
No.
And so when you go there in that mindset, it is a whole different experience.
We spent 6 hours, our first day there, 6 hours in the lazy river.
Right.
Renee said it was the fastest lazy river she's ever been in.
We are renaming it the Crazy River because, one, rip my glasses off. Two, that's just moving.
Yep.
And it's moving so fast that if you try to stop, you can't. It will fucking move you along. And cool, because, that's, the solution for pollution is dilution. And it's water moving fast, right? So it gets you down. But it is kind of a struggle sometimes. So fun, super fun stuff.
Well, Renee got a payback too, right?
Renee found $20. So she'd managed to stab $20 under her foot, and she was trying desperately to not get sucked downstream by the current, right? I was like, okay. She goes, I think I got $20 under my foot. I was like, great. She goes, dive down and get it. So I went to dive down, and the second I dove down, I was like, fuck it off, right? And I was like, no. So you had to get up and you had to pull the wall to get back to the spot. And she's like, I can't hold it any longer. So I dove down, grabbed her foot, picked her foot up with my hand underneath it. But the second her foot went up, she was fucking gone. She'd lost purchase. And so she was just like, the lazy river just got her. And so she went down, but it was a $20 bill. Yay. Nice. And I lost my good glasses, my prescription glasses. I lost those, but then made 3 turns later and found that somebody else had lost some glasses and they were just sitting up there. So I grabbed those, one in, one out, right? Karma. And these were giant fucking fuck off pink. Oh, they were so good. They were great. So yeah, super fun. Lots of fun. Whole
Did you
deal.
get yours back then?
No, they're gone.
So one time I was in Vegas working for Blaster, and we had been shooting in the desert till like 2 a.m. and we were coming back tired. And 2:30 in the morning in Vegas is kind of prime time for eyeballing people and seeing stuff. So we were kind of looking and doing whatever. It got to be about 3:30, and again, I don't gamble, but I was walking through all the machines. And as we were walking by, I slapped one of the buttons, and it goes ding, 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 and it spits out a ticket, and or it says winner. I hit the ticket to cash out. Right. It was $342.
Yes.
And I fucking spent $0. So I went, I cashed it.
There you go.
And she was like, would you like chips? I was like, no, I would just like the cash, please.
No,
And-
I will take it in the most portable form of currency
Right.
possible.
So I feel at this point in my life, I have never spent $1 gambling in Vegas, and I won. So I'm just done. I beat Vegas.
You
and
should-
now
you
I'm
beat the
done.
house.
Yep, I'm done. Never gonna gamble.
That is it.
Yeah.
Do not ever gamble.
Right.
No, and it's funny because there's a lot of sadness there.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And to that effect, the plane coming back from Vegas, I'm about to give you Unky Phil's top tip. And this one's going to save maybe your fucking life. Do not fly home from Vegas on the midnight flight on Frontier. A direct flight from Las Vegas to Cleveland. All the people on that plane, all 240 of them, are going to Cleveland. They're all leaving Las Vegas after a long weekend. They're hungover, they're broke, they're sad, and they're from Cleveland. Translate that as no fucking class.
Yeah.
Travel tip. When you're on Frontier, unless you pay extra money, you don't get a carry-on. When you're on Frontier, unless you pay extra money, you don't get to pick the seat you sit in. They pick it for you. That's Frontier. That's how it works. They know this. If you think that those people that work at the ticket counter or the check-in counter at the gate don't know scientifically from 40 feet away that your bag is not going to fit in the newly smaller sizeometer, if you think you're going to trick them, you're wrong. They're going to pull you out of the line. They're going to ask you to go over and place that bag you're carrying into the newly shrunkified sizeometer. Your bag will not fit. You'll have one opportunity to take things out of your bag and put them into your pockets and things like that. I recommend full chipmunk, right? And then if you can make it fit in the sizeometer, they will let you go on. But they're really there to collect that extra $50 from you. And right then and there, they'll tell you, well, that bag now either has to be checked for $100 or gate checked here as a carry-on so you can go in the overhead storage compartment for $50. That will slow down people getting on a fucking aircraft. Because usually about 10% of the people are trying to sneak on bags that are too big. Unless the flight is from Las Vegas to Cleveland at midnight. Did I mention Cleveland? Has no fucking class. About 90% of the people were trying to bring on what I would call triple bagger bowling ball bags. As though that was going to fit as a personal item under their seat in front of them. And I'm looking at the people in front of me going, no, none of them are going to get on. And they were having a field day at $50 a head.
Would a helmet in a bag fit?
No way in fucking hell.
No way.
And if it's not 9 inches wide, 11 inches tall, and I think 12 inches long or 14 inches long, it is not going. Unless your helmet is a takedown helmet.
I just have the helmet on and just be like, hey,
Now,
look at
that's-
See, that's how you do it.
Pro tip from Peter Rabbit right here.
My trip to Dallas, I put it on my head.
Yep.
I put it on my head, and they just walked right on the plane.
Yeah.
It's a hat.
It's
a
a hat.
fucking hat. Yep. Put it on your fucking head.
And I said, "This is no. It's not a comment on your flying ability."
Yep. I walked to the back and I had my full face on going to Dallas, and people give me the hairy eyeball, and I'm like, this could end poorly.
go ahead and punch me.
What?
Did you keep it on the whole
Fuck
flight?
no, I didn't keep it on the whole
Oh, okay.
flight. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not funny.
You ever see like a motorcyclist and they just show them about to get in a fight and they take their helmet off?
Dumbest thing ever.
I'm like, what
Exactly.
are you doing?
Dumbest thing ever. I would keep that fucking helmet, put the visor down. I would go full rhino.
Let's go.
I mean, there's still space under the seat, right? So you wear it on and then just stick it under the seat.
Hey, you do you, man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, put it on your lap. I don't care. You know, it works. But this flight, so we were stuck on the tarmac for an hour and 30 minutes because everybody that got on the plane just said, oh, look, I'm in seat 39 Charlie. But I want to sit next to my girlfriend, and she's in seat 29 Delta.
And they're doing airline math.
So they're just,
Excuse me.
no, they're just straight up. So after about the first 60 people got on the plane, then, you know, a young kid comes on. He's like, excuse me, you're sitting in my seat. Oh, yeah. I'm sitting in that seat. Then find another fucking seat. And I was like, whoa, this is not going to end well. Yeah. And the flight attendants came in, and the flight attendants all got real fucking serious. And the flight attendants came back, and they went, show me your boarding pass. And I went, and they went, okay. And then they asked everybody. And then they moved all the people back to the seats they were supposed to be in. And I'd say 10% of the people resisted vocally. Those people were escorted off the plane.
Really? That quick?
And then they ran into the people that were intoxicated.
Huh.
And those people, no, I was under best behavior. I had my head down like I was asleep. I had a few, but I'm not going to, admit to the world. Meanwhile, there's a guy getting on. He's like, I need to get my snacks for this haul because I am fucked up. He got fucking right off.
Yeah.
And so this beautiful woman came on from Frontier. This gorgeous, beautiful woman came on, and she says, if we take you off this flight, you will be charged with a TSA violation. You will be on a 1-year do not fly list, and you could face up to a $10,000 fine. Nice. So if we ask you to do something, we strongly recommend that you comply. If you do not, we have the air marshal standing by to remove you from the airplane. 4 people were extricated from the plane for refusing to follow the rules on seating. 2 were extricated due to alcohol. And then, mysteriously, Frontier found 6 more people to put on our fucking plane.
Of course they did.
No, Merritt seems to think that those were people that were rejected from earlier flights.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, you're sobered up now. Or I'm willing to play
brought
by
him
the
out of the
rules.
drunk tank.
Right, whatever. But so just letting you know, if you want the $79 ticket, you will have to suffer certain indignities.
This is so. What you're saying is they have collaboration with Waffle House.
Yeah,
so if you
right.
graduate out of Waffle House and you want to become, say, an air stewardess, or
First of all, crew member.
crew member,
I'm going to tell you, you will get a lot further with
Absolutely.
Because you say stewardess in one of those things.
Oh, no.
You're going to be having the 1-year TSA jump. All right.
so
Hey, toots, nice yams.
when you're ready,
Come on
travel,
over.
when you're ready to travel, you go from Waffle House.
Stewardess, is there a movie on this flight? Bring me another drink.
Yeah,
Okay, Rodney, you're out.
put some swing on. This place needs to be jumping.
So yeah, just
It is
letting you know,
Vegas.
if you travel, if you like to go places, and you go for that $79 ticket, there will be some restrictions. That was some shit, man. I
mean,
never saw that in my life.
You had to go into that knowing that was not going to be a great
I
flight.
texted Renee when the guy spouted off and we knew he was getting bounced.
Yeah.
We knew he was getting bounced, and he was sitting between her and me. Because we're not buying tickets next to each other. I'm not paying an extra $50 to sit next to Renee. I'm with her 40 goddamn hours a week. Right? We need our alone time. But it was fucking funny, though, because I heard him going off, and I knew that he had to be like right around where she was seated. And I was like, that guy's getting a bounce. I can see the air marshals at the front, right? I can see him, you know.
They're marshalling.
They're marshalling. No shit, they were marshalling. And they were like, and the crew member was kind of like, you know, his luggage is over there. And oh, this is my favorite announcement. If you didn't pay the additional $50 for a carry-on bag, you are not allowed to use the overhead storage bins. Your personal items go under the seat in front of you. If we find your bags in the overhead storage bin and you have not paid the $50 carry-on upgrade, we will charge you $50. 100 people got up and tried to get their shit out of the bins, and it did not fit under the seats. So it was ugly. Because by this point, everybody knew you're not playing.
Right.
They were not playing. They were getting every penny out of these people. And fuck that. But I texted Renee back. I was like, if this plane crashes, there were signs. There were signs.
You're hearing. I'm hearing
Yep.
this. You're telling me about all this, and now it makes sense why the Hooters airline only lasted like a year.
Yeah. Exactly.
Can you imagine what that was like?
Fucking.
Oh God!
It's like, yeah, we could do only direct flights only to Vegas.
Yeah.
Was that a real thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was.
Yeah. It lasted for like a year, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe a year and a half.
Were they even in Cleveland?
I don't think they were in Cleveland.
okay.
Yeah.
Why would they be? They probably flew from Atlanta to Vegas.
Yeah.
As in
Yeah.
Hooters,
yeah.
as in stewardesses in white
Yeah.
tank tops.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Orange.
That was the concept.
Yeah.
They'd feed you chicken wings and too much beer.
Crazy.
John's like checking something off as his list. Like
I flew on Virgin once and it didn't come back. You know, it was they just that thing. If you like to travel, just be aware of that shit because it's fucking real, man. They're not playing around. Frontier is like, I'm gonna sneak something past them. No. They have dealt with worse people than you. Probably every fucking night.
As sad as it sounds, when I go to Vegas in like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
I'm doing Frontier because it was $70. Why not?
Yeah, it's cheap as shit.
But I'm not an amateur at this game. I have my backpack.
Right.
I know exactly where my backpack goes. I know exactly what it fits into.
and you're wearing 17 layers of clothes.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, I also have somebody else taking her giant big ass steamer trunk on her American Airlines first class trip.
All right, yeah. So you can go there with your pockets full. Yeah.
So here's a guy. I'm slowly moving out of the vintage thing right now because it's driving me crazy. And then the crack dealer of fucking vintage shit puts the sickest fucking 750 I've ever seen. Like I'm sitting here staring at it, and it has what could only be said to look like GSXR forks. That's
exactly what they are.
But they're tiny. They're skinny. That has to be some weird Japanese like 250 Gixxer or something. Like
Well,
those are
because
really skinny.
I'm looking at the first thing I'm drawn to is the headlight ears, trying to figure out what would fit those.
Well, those are upside
tubes.
down. I
Yeah,
think
no,
those are upside down.
I get that.
So this is a bike that John will remember because we sold this bike out of the shop several years ago.
Come on.
Yeah. So this is a bike that we sold out of the shop many, many years ago. And
To that kid who was in the military who
Yep.
had a.
exactly.
Dude, that's the most tastefully
So,
modified 750 I've seen.
We sold this particular bike, and
I wonder if it still smokes.
real bad. So we'd sold this bike to him, and the only thing that's really been done is the rear fender has been
Lightened.
cut at the top and raised up. And there's a trick that you can do. You don't cut the bottom of the fender because that's where the factory put a nice rolled edge on there. You cut the top of the fender. Yeah. And you get an old CB550 fender or something nobody cares about, and you cut about 4 or 6 inches out of the top part that goes under the seat, and then you move everything up, and that works fine. It looks just like this. And so a lot of the things that are done on this bike are things that we had done at the shop, but the front forks are very tasteful.
Can you zoom in on that side panel?
I probably can. Maybe not.
Also, those pipes are real clean too, man.
Well, those are not.
That's not what was on it when we sold
No, it had a big 4-to-1 on it when we sold it. But what the exhaust are replica Vietnamese headers and cans, and cocktail shaker cans.
Yeah.
Right, because there's no part of that. What's going on there is the Honda CM.
No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, none of that. So that's all just an aftermarket.
Those are not the original Lotus Blossom exhaust.
No, definitely
God,
not. Definitely not. But what I'm saying is like the dimensions, the smaller pipes, everything
looks
is
great.
Fucking perfect.
It looks really nice, right?
Yeah.
It's a really, really pretty build. It is funny though, because you do start to see how small the 17-inch wheel on the front looks.
Yeah.
Compared to the 18 on the back, right? And you say, oh, there's definitely a difference there.
Yeah.
Originally, it was a 19.
I don't know.
Oh, in the back?
The front would have been a 19.
The front team would have been a 19. The front would have been a 19 from the factory. So, yeah, I think
He
that's...
needs to do the Harley wheel conversion on the back.
To convert that back wheel down to a 16-inch Sportster wheel would look fucking awesome. And I've done that to a lot. That one that we're doing right now that we have over Dustin's house, we did that. We did the 16-inch Sportster conversion on the back. It looks really nice. We did the tail tidy. And on that one, actually, it's had a Cafe Racer seat on it.
My orange CB750 had that.
Very cool looking. I mean, it's really neat. So I think it was a really beautiful bike. I just wanted to shout that out because that's a bike that was at our shop. Wow. And it lives on and lives and breathes and does all kinds of cool shit. Super cool. I do not know where the photo was taken. That street looks a hell of a lot to me like where your daughter used to go to school, doesn't it? Isn't there a fucked up cobblestone street like that over there?
Oh, back in St. Mark's there?
Yeah, I think so.
Or that could be, what's the college over in Cleveland Heights?
Yeah.
John Carroll has an area that looks a lot like
Yeah,
that.
it could be. All right. I'm not certain, though, but I don't quote me
You know
on
what
the
sucks,
location.
though? It's like it didn't take too much more work to make it look like this compared to most of the shit on Craigslist. So I wish the Craigslist kids would catch on. Can you imagine if that was just a pile of fucking shit on Craigslist? Like,
yeah, and the rear suspension on this is not a super expensive aftermarket suspension. The front end is probably GSXR 600 or something.
Yeah, and that's $300-$400 all day long.
Yeah, and probably pretty goddamn early too. Probably like 97.
Yeah,
98.
that's why it's skinnier.
That's why it's skinnier.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think it looks really cool. Yeah, I really like this.
It's interesting that he's still got a spoke wheel somehow.
I do like that. I think that's fucking cool. So obviously relaced it to the hub. Anyway.
Those look like aluminum Acron.
I do like...
They do. The front and the rims both do look like Acron rain gutters.
Well, the ZRX has upside downs, right? And it has a... I think you can get it with a spoked wheel on the front.
Yeah. I think
that might be a ZRX front end.
So did he send this to you?
He sent this to me. Yeah.
What was his name again?
You're killing me, man.
Yeah.
I could go back and find the email.
Bob Schmedley.
He blew through the shop fairly quick.
Yeah, he wasn't there long. He pretty much worked there long enough to pay for this motorcycle $100 at a time out of a weekly paycheck kind of thing. And I think I sold him the bike, and this is going to make everyone sick, for I think $1,200.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For a running CB750.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how long ago?
Yeah, this is a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably at the right price.
I think
it was
he bought
enough
that after he wrecked his ZX6.
He did.
He had like a Ninja.
He wadded up a shitty Ninja.
I can get this up to
You've never been a guy known to just not do well on deals.
Yeah, but this particular bike, when it showed up to us, it had a 4-into-1 made by a company called Winning.
Yeah.
So it had a 4-into-1 drag pipe on it that was louder than hell. It was impressively loud.
Those raspy.
Yeah, but it also had a smoking habit. So it would smoke about a pack and a half before it got properly warmed up. So I think this particular motor may have had a weepy seal here or there. And
I think it had a locked up tappet adjuster.
I think you're right.
That was applied a lot of heat and
cooked up.
Melted the valve seal.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it would definitely come. I mean, this bike does not have a center stand. This bike, and it still to this day doesn't have a center stand. This bike had a side stand only, and when he would take the bike off the side stand and start it up, sometimes you could see droplets of oil leaving the pipe. You're like, yep, okay, that's not a tight motor. But, hey. And for a little while there, he rode it like he fucking stole it. I mean, every time I'd see him riding this bike, he'd be at over 100 miles an hour. Yeah. So he was just devil may care. It was a beautiful bike, though. I thought it was really cool, and I thought that was fun that it came out of our shop. Super fun. Super cool.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Anybody else got any fun stories? Any cool stuff?
Yeah.
How about new purchases? There's been some of that going on around the table. So, Chris, tell me about Monkey Island.
Yeah, whose bikes are whose out there? I don't know. I know Sean's beautiful orange Vespa.
That's where we're going, John. We're starting with Chris.
We're starting.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I was sitting at the bar over at Fatheads, Middleburg Heights, minding my own business.
As you do.
Bullshit.
As you do.
Head down, staring at my beer. Pondering the mistakes I've made in my life.
So where are you from?
Hey, sailor, new in town?
I'm from Ohio.
And Emmett Hayes walks in, sits down next to me and says, I see your road here. I saw your bike out in the parking lot. Yeah, you know. And he says, boy, I saw 2 bikes for sale, little mini bikes for sale over on Lewis Road. I said, well, what do they look like? Oh, they're just mini bikes. I said,
Yep.
did they look like this? I don't know. He says, well, yeah. I said, well, let's go look at them.
There's no time like the present.
So he goes over there, he gets the guy's name, texts it to me, phone number, I call the guy. And I said, well, what are you doing with them? He said, well, I gotta get rid of them. I said, okay, well, I'm on my way over. So let me come over and take a peek at them. And he had them out, and he says, let's take them out for a test run. So we did, out Lewis Road and all that stuff over there. And he says, what do you think? I said, I like them. I like them both. He says, really? Yeah, I want them both. So it's, well, how much do you want? He says, $3,700 a piece. $7,000 if you buy them both. Well, on my way over there, I called my financial advisor, Fling. He says, I'll offer him $6,500. I said, all right, you know, what do you got to lose? I said, would you consider $6,500? And the guy says, sure.
Wow. Holy shit. Oh, that was easy.
Yep.
Holy fuck, you overshot the fucking margin.
Oh, I know that trick.
Should have gone lower.
Yeah.
Shoulda.
Shoulda, coulda.
Anyway, yeah.
So, anyhow, Pete and I made our way over last Saturday.
And these were what color?
Red and yellow.
Red and yellow.
Nice.
Or, as Pete pointed out, ketchup and mustard.
Right. It was perfect.
So, we went over there on Saturday. He let us ride him back to my house on his plates. Then we took his plates back.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah.
That's
nice
super
guy.
cool.
Well, Chris, you seem like a trustworthy fellow.
Right.
You know better.
Yeah.
He's too old and slow. He's too old and slow for crying.
Right.
Well, after we told him to finally pull his pants up and stop sagging him, people
Right.
started to take him a little more seriously.
idea that he was being fashionable.
So, on Wednesday, I was talking to Pete. Pete had been talking to a gentleman down in Litchfield by the name of Grand Beardo.
We all know ground beer dough.
That's where, okay, this is all making sense.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
All right.
So, he was the one that originally wanted to buy it.
Well, wanted to buy your first monkey.
Yeah, the Hofford bike. And John was nice enough to say, you know, plug guy. So I got a hold of Grand Beard and I said, hey, Honda's available, Monkey's available. And he said, I'll take it. So I sold it to Grand Beardo, and he's happy as a clam.
Okay.
So for a period of about 1 week, Chris was the owner of 3 monkeys.
Yeah.
Fucking 3 monkeys at one time.
Now, you know, you're down to
And
2?
and its Italian cousin, the Benelli.
Yes, exactly.
You know that
You
goes.
almost had to get a barrel.
Oh.
See no evil. Hear no evil. Speak no evil.
Have no fun.
So, yeah. So I wrote
That's
the yellow one.
fantastic. So are you keeping the yellow one?
Right.
Okay, cool.
And the second red one.
And the yellow one's ABS?
No,
No? Okay.
neither of them are ABS.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that panned out. The very cool, man. Striking
Like
in
that.
the yellow livery.
I do like the yellow, yeah. That's the way to go.
Historic.
And each of those monkeys only have 700 or 800 miles on them, but
Yeah.
both under 1,000.
Jesus, that's fantastic.
2019.
Yeah.
So he bought his wife wanted one. So he bought one, the yellow one for his wife, and he bought the red one for himself. And they rode around years ago, and she just has stopped riding. And
Right.
He also has a Harley in the garage, so when they go out riding, she jumps on the back of the Harley, and he does that. He didn't need the monkeys.
Don't need the monkeys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's just because Emmett Hayes sat down next to me and says, "Oh, I saw two bikes."
And that's fantastic. That's the right way to buy.
That's
Just serendipity.
that's the way it goes.
How would it happen again?
Yeah.
Anyhow,
And then Pete shows up on
Hunter Cub, 125,
with no miles on it.
200. Well, I think it just went over 300 when I was on the ride up. there.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Yeah, I mean, that is the newest. Even the one that I got, the one I got had like 700 miles on it, right?
And I fell into this deal too, similar to what Chris just described it with the buddy deal. Greg Castillo, who's also been on the podcast before, took it in on trade against a vintage mini bike that he had for sale, and Greg wanted the money,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I gave Greg the money. The other guy got the vintage mini bike, and I got the Hunter Cub.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Red-
great.
It's a red 2022.
That's the tricky bit. I keep looking at the monkey and the trail, and I'm like, I don't know which one I'd pick.
Well,
Monkey hands down.
Monkey hands down.
Everybody's got an opinion on that. I promise you. I
They're
absolutely
both-
do.
I
They
couldn't
both
decide
look
either.
up-
That's why I said, well, I'll have one of each.
They
I can have one of each.
exactly.
Why
They
not
both
do it?
they
Right.
both look amazing.
Yeah, they're really, really cool bikes, and it's funny that I put all the energy and time into making the Super Cub go fast because I wanted the Super Cub for the history of it, and because I have other Super Cubs in my collection. And then when I got the Super Cub up to going as fast as I wanted the Super Cub to go, and at the point where I didn't think it could go any faster, then I laid my hands on the Hunter Cub, and I was like, man, and it came pre-farkled. So it was great. I didn't have to do anything to it. And then rode it around at AMA Vintage Days, kind of played it with there. I was like, man, I got to pick one or the other. I cannot just have the whole goddamn collection of these things. And I realized by being at AMA Vintage Days that the whole fucking world at AMA Vintage Days was just like, Hunter Cub, what about Hunter Cub? Let me stop and talk. And I mean, I couldn't ride the thing fucking 75 feet without some ancient man, dropping his fucking erection in front of my bike and being like, let me tell you about, no, don't tell me about anything.
Yes,
Don't
I know.
tell me
You,
about-
I know you had one as a kid. It's good.
let me tell you about $4,500.
Yep.
Right? And it took me about 9 days after Mid-Ohio to sell that bike to somebody from Mid-Ohio. And I told the guy who wouldn't leave me alone at Mid-Ohio, came back to our campsite like fucking 6 times. You got to sell me that bike. You got to sell me the bike. I'm like, no, I'm riding this bike. This is what keeps me from walking at Mid-Ohio. So I'm not going to sell you my steed. But when we get home, I'll sell it to you. And he came by the shop and he brought cash. And he lowballed me at Mid-Ohio. I told him $4,500 and he lowballed me. And then he showed up at the shop with $4,500 cash at the shop. And I went, that's exactly the way you do it. He showed up, he gave me the $4,500. And I was like, hold on. Guess who's a notary? And I was like, here you go. Do you need a temp tag? What? You can give me a temp tag? You bet your ass I can give you a temp tag. I can sell you a helmet. Like, I can get you gloves and a jacket. Let's not leave here naked.
Yep.
And he was the happiest guy in the world. And I was just like, because that Hunter Cub came into my world on like a weird 3-way trade. So I really, really super duper wanted one. And I got to have it and I got to experience and the whole deal.
And that guy got a free Cub because he paid the $4,500 were just the Farkles.
Oh my
I've
God.
never
Oh, yeah.
seen so much
Jesus,
shit on
there
a
was
fucking
so much
bike.
shit on my bike. It
It
was
seriously
the whole
had
catalog.
I honestly, like, don't you think it was about $3,000 worth of stuff at least?
What killed me was he had the fold-away levers on it.
Yeah.
And I looked up the fold-away levers. They're like $149 for the fold-away levers.
Yeah, like there was extra
He had
pipes and
so
bars
much-
and
yeah, he had
protections.
so
and,
much expensive shit on there.
and then dumb stuff too. Not, I mean, it looked
No,
cool,
there was some dumb stuff.
but there was like, oh, let's change the center of this button and make it red.
yeah.
Things.
Yeah, he had taken
You know,
off shit that was perfectly fine from Honda and added shit that was less, right? That was worse quality.
Yeah.
But it's fine. There's an ass for every seat.
Yeah, it was cool though.
It was fine. But it's one of those things but yeah, it's fucking great. I mean, super cool. Very, very cool bike. And John got new tires on today.
Whoop, whoop.
And broke the tire machine. I know you didn't do it. That wasn't you. I swear it wasn't you.
I swear to God,
But
it
you
wasn't
felt
him.
so bad.
He
I
did.
still feel bad.
because-
I'm like thinking,
dude,
I'm
it's-
like,
It wasn't you.
Right,
That
it
thing has
wasn't you.
that thing has had problems for a while. I have just been kind of limping it along.
oh, you said that. Well, that's never ever happened before.
No,
This
the
thing-
motor
never
thing is
happened to me
new,
before.
but it's always been leaking air. Like I have to turn the air off because it always leaks. But the motor thing is just out of the blue.
It was very poetic.
The leaking air is just bad maintenance.
Oh yeah.
I haven't
that's
had
just
to
a bad
change
seal.
tire in years, and I was kind of like, oh, this will be pleasant.
This will be easy.
I'll be able to
got the right shit.
this machine.
Yeah.
I really felt bad when it wouldn't work, and I was like,
As soon
no.
as I touched the pedal to turn the table, it went.
I-
like, whoa.
I literally just changed a set of LX150 tires like yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And for that to just, oh, look, John's
It
here.
just couldn't handle Meckel Fresh's beefiness.
Exactly.
It just couldn't handle that man. Yeah. It wasn't ready for that.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all
Are you
fine.
banging it or using it?
No, he touched it
on it.
once.
Touched it once.
You literally did.
I
Stepped
make
on
a
the
full
pedal
turn.
and it went. "Brrr."
I actually felt
I wasn't even trying to take the tire off.
Yeah.
I stepped on the pedal to just make sure I knew which way the table was going to turn.
I felt really bad. I was like, "Oh, you come into my house and my shit's broken." I'm sorry, man.
Because I was trying to do it mostly myself. Tom's very busy. It's a busy time of year. I didn't want to be like, can you change my... I was like, okay, I've changed tires. I should be
You
able to
worked
do
at the shop.
Yeah.
work there.
Yeah.
On a
That's-
much
that's-
shittier tire machine.
Yeah.
Right.
You showed up and you came in the back and you were and I asked you, I said, "Do you need any help?" And I figured you knew your way around.
I figured I could get the old tires
Yeah.
off and the new ones on.
When John worked at our shop, we had an old Coates machine that was about...
No, we did not. We had a Harbor Freight.
Oh, shit, you're
hand
right.
one. I hand changed thousands of tires.
On the Harbor Freight post... Yeah, on the Nomar system.
John's like, I
The
still
fake
have a
Nomar.
callus from the.
And so today, I basically hand changed two tires.
I really
on a
felt
very
so
nice
bad.
hydraulic.
I felt so bad. I was like, "Oh God, this is not."
I don't feel. I mean, I just feel bad that you guys have tires you got to change, and that machine is valuable. And I'm like,
I have changed my truck tires by hand tools.
Yeah, well-
so I'm not going to be that upset.
Out of my fucking shop, you don't. Don't even fucking talk like
Oh
that.
no,
I don't even want to hear about
We'll
it.
get this sorted
I
out.
think Tom was trying to get back at me because I got pelted with two tire levers like 3 times.
Yeah, no, I put so much wax on it that it literally anytime I would
Spit
do
'em out.
anything, it would spit it right back.
I was using the brush. He grabbed a handful.
Well, to tell you how important a tire
Crisco.
machine is, our neighbors down at the Triumph dealership will bring a case of beer to our shop when their tire machine goes down. And it's a great relationship to have with the Triumph dealer,
Yeah.
8 blocks away, what have you. And their mechanic will show up and he's just like, hey man, case of beer. And I'm like, you do not need to bring a case of beer. No, I don't drink beer at the shop.
Bourbon.
Right?
Bourbon.
Bottles of bourbon. Right? But
good run.
I think it's funny because that kid shows up and I'm like, you know how to work it. Go back there and fucking mount up the tires.
Yeah.
It's the same tire machine they have at their shop. Everybody has the exact same K&L tire machine.
Yeah.
Every motorcycle shop in America is using
It's the K&L 680.
the same tire machine.
Yep.
I promise you. We just have the upgrade of the strong arm
Yep.
to
Which is I'm still getting used to. Like we used it earlier today with the 3 arms and everything else, and it kind of works a certain way, but I'm just not used to it yet.
I would be happy to dance with a machine with a strong arm
Oh,
all
yeah.
day long. I learned how to do them that way, and
Yeah, yeah.
that makes your life
So
real fucking
we'll get
easy.
this thing up and running again. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's one of those things because the 680 is the most common K&L.
It's going to need parts, I think.
Yeah,
They've been
it's-
making the same tire machine for going on 40 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a reason every shop in
I
America
just
has it.
hope you can get parts.
Well, tomorrow,
Around 2 weeks.
like I told Phil, tomorrow morning I'm going to get there before everybody does because I always do. Make my pot of coffee like I always do. Go back there, run the capacitor, figure out it's bad. Go to Granger, get the freaking capacitor, and rock and roll.
Right.
You might need a new motor. I'm not sure.
The motor worked fine
Yeah, once you
once you got it moving,
Yeah,
and
maybe.
that's the start. That's usually the starting capacitor.
Okay. I hope to God it is.
So,
I swear to God, I'm going to go back there and there's going to be, when I look at the supply wires that go to it, there's going to be 3 threads hanging in of what should be a fucking 12 gauge wire.
Yeah.
And there'll be three little pieces of threads of wire carrying all the electricity into it.
Yep.
And then it's gonna
At
be
one
like,
point, it did pop a breaker. That's what I didn't like.
Well, that was because I was trying to make it smoke, and the problem is when you make it smoke, one of two things gives out, and the circuit breaker did exactly what it was supposed to do.
it's okay. They're only $2,500, Tom. And they only take about 3 weeks to get here.
No, the motor's 600.
That's it. That's cool. We're good. All right.
I'm a Nomar man.
I love my Nomar.
you're not wrong because you had a Nomar when I showed up.
There's one back there. Bolt it to the floor.
I
I'm
thought
not
so.
changing
Where is
tires
it?
every day, but when I want to change a tire, I don't have to go to the shop. I do it in
Yeah.
my garage.
I mean, it's
And,
not. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it suits my needs perfectly. Is what I'm saying.
The main thing is having it something to clamp the wheel in. I mean, once you have the wheel clamped in there, using a pair of levers.
That's the
and getting
important
it in,
part.
and using your belly to hold it in. Like I have
Yep.
3 appendages.
Yep. Well, you need the rule is now. This is actually a proper tech tip for people listening at home that actually want to listen about motorcycle shit. You need 3 tire spoons. You always need 3. Everybody's going to say they always come in pairs, but you need 3 of them because you have to put the first one in, hold it down, put the second one in, wrap it around, and then you have to fight with the third one while you're holding the first one with your stomach, and then walk it around. Because you always hold
Monkey paw
one.
thing worked well.
The
though.
monkey paw
That-
works
that
great.
Yellow monkey paw.
Called the yellow thing.
The yellow thing.
That's its fucking part number. It's in the picture.
Yeah.
It's called the
Oh,
yellow
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
There it is.
And anybody say, do you got the yellow thing? We do. We do have the yellow
Yep.
thing. In fact, I've got 3 or 4 of them.
Yep.
Yeah. The yellow thing is magic.
There are extra ones in bags.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
when one of them goes missing, there are
and
at least
I
2
have
of them.
I have extra tips.
Yep.
For the Nomar bars. I keep those standing by because for my money, the most important thing about that machine
Yep.
is that it just holds the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I just need the Nomar bar.
Yeah.
So if I have the Nomar bar, which is sitting right there by the tire machine,
Yeah.
then I don't need any of
You
the
can
other
wrap it around and call it a day.
Spin the fucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, just like all things in life, lubrication is your friend.
Yep.
I
There is
promise you.
always time for lubrication.
But this is the pro gaming package right here. I disagree.
Expensive.
No.
No, that is why you do Nomar.
Yeah.
The reason everybody does Nomar is because for $800 you can put a non-machine, because it's not mechanical.
Right.
You can put this thing in your garage, and
They sell a trailer hitch
That's what I have
accessory
for
for this.
that's what I have for mine.
Yeah.
at home. Yeah.
Which
Mine,
is nice
I
because
can
it makes it
literally
portable.
yeah.
You can take it over to a buddy's house and change the
yeah.
tires in his garage.
Yep.
So it's not just that you can put one in your garage. You can put it on the back of your truck and go to your friend's house.
The reason I don't like the trailer hitch mounted one is you cannot break beads with it.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Breaking beads, tire beads
Yep.
On the trailer hitch?
on the trailer hitch one. I've got the trailer hitch one at my house.
Why can't you break the bead on it?
It doesn't have the wedge in the anvil for it to go against. Does yours?
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-oh.
Time for an
Oh,
upgrade.
I made my own actually. I made a
Ah,
extension,
well, see.
So
Okay.
I don't see what's missing.
Yeah, mine does not come with a lever-based tire bead breaking apparatus.
You just need like a little thing, a bar that comes out that you can sit on. You put it right on the bead, and then you just sit down on it. And it goes pull, and then rotate. And
Right.
pull.
I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it. That's not the hardest thing in the world to do. But I was just like, I get used to using the tire bead breaker at the shop just because it's fast.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just super fast, super easy. But
Am
yeah,
I
they're
on
not
the
expensive.
cable again?
Oh, it's just breathing. Somebody is breathing really loudly. Who is it?
Uh-oh.
This is me breathing.
Is it
Can you hear
Dan?
it? Yeah.
Dan,
don't know.
Dan, are you breathing?
I can only hold my breath so long.
Dan, stop breathing.
Yeah, it stopped now. It stopped. Hey, come back, Dan. Come back, Dan. Wait a minute. I don't know who it is. Well, we can figure it out though. One of our podcasters, I'm sure, can solve that problem. Yeah. This is the hitch mount. So if you have the hitch mount, you can mount any of the Nomar systems to the hitch of your vehicle. The only downside, and I'll show you. This is the hitch mount in situ. Let's go ahead and pull this up so that our podcast listeners at home can see how sexy it is. But the hitch mount is basically just a device that you buy that takes the upright vertical shaft of the Nomar away. And it's just gone now. And
That has the bead breaker on that one.
I'll tell you.
It does.
Take a
I
look.
can see it.
It surely does. Yeah, that one does.
Cool.
Yeah, that one does. Absolutely. Mine does not.
You got jit.
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. Mine definitely does not have a bead breaker on it. So that's cool. That's a really, I mean, that's a slick device. If you want to have an at-home tire changing system, the Nomar, I've got one at my house. I've got one at the shop because I had another one. We used a Nomar at the Cleveland shop, and then we had a Nomar over at we had the electrical mechanical one at the Mentor store, but then I had a backup Nomar. So yeah, super cool. Really great product. Does exactly what it says it does. Buy extra fingers.
Oh yeah.
Buy extra fingers. You will, until you get the hang of it, you will rip
Yep.
those fucking fingers off.
Yep.
And then the trick is, if you want to use Windex, like dollar store Windex is freaky good as a lubricant.
Huh.
Yep. And
I mean, I use water and palm olive, so.
how about you use the bead product?
Oh, I
that
love the
have a
bead.
bucket
Oh
of?
no, I love that. Johnny will tell you exactly how much of that stuff
that
I
shit's
like.
fantastic.
Yeah,
But
he put it on.
I grew up-
going elbow deep in that tire.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it works great.
I grew up with spray bottles full of dishwashing detergent and water because my old boss was cheap.
The magic of the dollar
that's
store.
when you had the Nomar stuff, I would take a little scoop out, put it in a spray bottle, shake it up, and
Yep.
then you could spray
Yep.
it. It was nice.
Absolutely. The Nomar stuff is just thick soap.
Oh, I love the Nomar stuff.
It's great. It's good lube, man.
It's great.
But the
Good lube is good.
Too enthusiastic. Man.
About good lube? Everybody should be enthusiastic about good lube.
I'm listening.
well, let me tell you about why the dollar store Windex works great. Because it goes on in the spray bottle. It's
Yep.
cheap as chips. It goes on nice and easy. It is a lubricant for exactly 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And then it's an adhesive. So
That's the
it
only thing-
starts as a lubricant, and then it dries up. And when it dries up, it fucking holds. It's
like
kind of
my
magic.
back wheel now has Crisco all over it.
Yeah, it
Like,
does.
If I tried to do a burnout now, would it spin on the rim?
Maybe.
Potentially.
'Cause that stuff is a
use
l-
the soap base as a lubricant to put the tire on. Then you go in the rain after it's dried out.
Yeah.
It'll constitute the soap.
This is why I literally always tell people, I said, for the next 10 miles, don't do anything stupid.
I did I don't know if anybody's a fan of the Gojo wipes, but I wiped everything. After I put them on, I wiped my brake rotors, the tires,
Yep.
everything with the Gojo wipes just to take off a layer of grease.
Yeah, it gets
And I think it
everywhere.
helps soften up that one little layer of rubber.
24 years with my own shop, years before that working at other shops. The number of times I have seen people crash motorcycles with brand new tires on them is too many to count. And it's always the guys who are leaving my shop that are like, yeah, man, this is going to be cool. And they roll out hell-bent for leather on a tire that still's covered in mold release.
Yep.
Let's give that tire 200-300 miles to season itself
Scrub it in.
and
Yep.
scrub it in.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do that
So
because
this is another tech tip.
I believe me, man, super tech tip.
Because
Super tech.
you're right. Because I dropped a TL1000 one time because I spun it up on fresh tires because I was trying to dodge a Subaru, and TL1000 body parts on a brand new one are not cheap.
Very expensive.
And I was mad as
And it's
hell.
torque on demand.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, torque on demand. Very, very instantly comes up on you. And that's why we had problems with the electric bikes. The electric bikes,
Yep.
torque on demand, brand new tires. Hey, can I take that for a test ride? No, I'd really rather if you didn't. Well, the manufacturer said you're supposed to let me have a test ride. Well, the manufacturer can bring his bike out that he paid for.
Yep.
Well, then I'm not going to buy a bike from you. That's fine. Go buy somebody else.
My bike feels a lot better.
Yeah, I bet
Oh,
you
I
it does.
imagine those tires were literally one rock away from getting air out of them.
Yeah, I didn't realize how actually thin.
They were
Once
thin.
you took them off and everything. like-
Oh yeah.
and I took the old tires with me, so there's no disposal.
You push your finger through the backside of it, you can actually see the dent.
Yeah. I can still get away with getting rid of stuff for free at the dumps.
That's it. I was going to say that works pretty good for onesie twosies. Yeah, we have the hillbillies show up to pick up 200 tires.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. And I promise those aren't going in a landfill. Best of my knowledge, they're not going in a landfill.
I could tell you a story, but we'll do that off mic.
Okay, we'll do. So earlier, talking about tech tips and things that Chris Smith was talking about, his he was getting some noise coming from. Tell the folks.
Well, I told you. You explained it.
Okay, Chris says he's getting some tappity coming out of the top of his 250cc single powered by Janus.
How much tappets?
Yeah. And, when you have a pushrod motor, you have a pretty long valve train. So the distance between the cam, which is based on the crank, right, and your pushrods, which are quite long, and then you've got valves at the top, right? So there's a lot of lash in there. Lash is the term for it. And lash is just anything that isn't zero,
Play.
It's play. It's slop. Why can't it be zero? Come on, man. Slop is bad. I know this. You don't need to tell me something I don't know. Having play in anything is probably bad. The first thing we should do is we should dial all the play out of there. I mean,
Here's one thing.
Yeah.
Things expand when they heat.
Exactly. And things are designed to let oil get in there. And a big important part of this, and why this particular engine design, which has been around since Christ was a fucking private, some of these 125 German and Austrian engineered motors that went into all these amazing French and English motorcycles in the early 1930s, pre-war bikes and some post-war bikes, were all based on the same exact rudimentary design. And so you'll see a motorcycle called a James and you'll be like, I recognize that motor. And then you'll look at a Motobacan and you'll be like, I recognize that motor. You look at a Peugeot, I recognize that motor. Look at an NSU, be like, I recognize that motor. That's because all those motors all came from the exact same design. They were all patterned off of that one particular 125cc motor that was very popular in the early 1900s. Tons of them. Cool, great. Push rods, right? This is how things worked. And I mean, I don't care if you had a Briggs & Stratton, a Tecumseh motor, whatever. This was the way that you opened and closed valves based on a crankshaft that your piston is running on. So you piston, your con rod, and you have a crank at the bottom, and it's going roundy. Wouldn't it be great if we could use that roundy energy that's already happening, take power off of that's already spinning, and use that to open and close our valves? Well, it's so much better than running a chain off of our crank, running a chain over the top, and having to have another cam up there. So we have a crank at the bottom and a cam at the top with a chain in the middle. Well, that seems very complicated and hard to perfect. So why don't we just use push rods? Because rods are solid. They don't stretch very much. They don't compress very much. They're goddamn rods. And so back in the early days of motorcycles, that was the preferred way to do opening and closing of valves. Sure, no problem. There were side valve engines. There were all kinds of motors that had different ways to open and close valves, but basically it was a push rod device. Why do we have slop? Well, we have slop because motors get hot, things expand and get bigger. We also have slop because oil has to get in and lubricate things so that they're not running metal on metal. And if these valves were actually completely zeroed out, what would happen is not only would there be an extra amount of abuse between the push rod and the rocker arm, but there would also be an extra amount of abuse between the valve itself and the valve seats. And when the valve closes, we don't want it to be a metal door slamming against a metal hinge or a metal door frame. What we want it to be is we want there to be a nice cushion of oil there. So we'd like to have either the charge that's coming in, the charge that's about to go out, or some oil in there to help cushion that landing and make a perfect seal. If we don't, and if our valves are zeroed out, what we're going to end up having is we're going to have a violent point where the valve stops. The valve's going to stop quite violently at the valve seat, and it will knock fucking chunks out of your head, out of your valve seat. Once that happens, you will have all lost your compression, and the motor will cease to be a high compression engine. It will be a no compression engine. So having a little bit of lash or slop in there allows that valve to land as opposed to being forced. That's why motorcycles will have a specification that says in the valve train, they want you to adjust the valves maybe 3 thou. Okay, maybe 0.03 millimeters. There'll be different measurements, and there will be an intake valve adjustment, there'll be an exhaust valve adjustment. And they are different because different things happen there.
Yep.
The charge coming on the inside of the motor is very, very cool. The charge leaving the exhaust side of the motor is very fucking hot, and there ain't much there to make it cool.
Typical is 4 and 6 or 6 and 8.
Right. And with modern motors, we tend to do them at 3 and 5.
Yep.
So as modern motors have gotten a little more closer tolerances, you can...
Super Hot's like 2 and 3.
2 and 3. That's exactly it. Well,
I always add.
But what else?
I never do.
But what else do you know about the Super Hawk? Why they're 2 and 3?
No, why?
A very, very
Short valve,
very short throw valve, and a very, very high valve adjustment interval. So Honda said, we're going to get a hell of a lot of performance out of the exact same motor that's in the Dream. But in the Super Hawk, the valve tolerances are smaller than in the Dream. But they had intended for the Super Hawk to get some more maintenance. And they squeezed a little more power out of the Super Hawk than they squeezed out of the Dream.
So one of the things I was always taught, and I don't know, you guys can give me your opinion on it, I've always done it. So if a valve is supposed to be 0.03, I was told that it's better to make it a tight 0.04 than it is to make it a loose 03, because if you mess it up, if it's too tight, it's really bad. But like if you go the other way, it's not going to...
A loose 03 and a tight 04 are exactly the same.
Well, but I mean, but you have you can gauge it a little better,
Yes, and that's called
the
drag.
Yeah,
That's
you can
drag.
feel that drag,
Right.
Because loose is loose. Like it's like okay, how loose is it? But that drag, then okay, like once you get a feel for it, you're right there.
Absolutely. And that's a big thing where when I watch some young mechanics that are doing a valve adjustment on a motorcycle. Now, for the sake of this argument, we're going to talk about posts. We're going to talk about nut and post adjusters.
A quick rule of thumb is
Go
after
ahead.
you've adjusted your valves and you're still at top dead center, grab your rocker and slide it side to side. It should easily move a little bit side to side. If it's too tight, you won't be able to move it side to side.
Correct.
Sometimes you can actually discern. Now, when you're at 2,000s, you can barely feel it move like a ticking.
Right.
If it's 4 or 6,000s, you could probably feel a little tick to it. But if you're at like 2,000s, you should be able to slide it side to side a little bit and feel it loose.
And when they're adjusted correctly, getting your feeler gauge in could be a challenge. You may have to help it a little bit. Because especially if you're small.
Back it off, put it in.
Back it off, put it on. Exactly. Drop it down on it, wiggle it a little bit, and then just make sure that it moves. Make sure that it slides. Because if it's not sliding, if it's being gripped, then you're off. You're too tight. And this is something that when you've done 10,000 of them, it becomes kind of like, it's just what we're doing. It's not a big deal today. But when it's your first time out and you're reading the owner's manual or the service manual, depending on how old your bike is, and it's telling you how to do it, I assure you, tightening that 10 millimeter nut, the check nut on the top of this thing, will fucking change it.
Yep.
And if you're not using a valve wrench on the top, and that's when you look at that square post on the top of it. When you look at that square post, that's there for a goddamn good reason.
If you look in your Honda toolkits on old bikes, they all have
They sure do.
a thing that will hold that valve. You'll look one of your tools, like usually the T-handle thing.
Yep.
There's a little thing that you can put on that.
You swear to God that T-handle is to put on your Phillips head screwdriver or to put on your flathead screwdriver. It is not. The T-handle is there so you can put it right there. And so you can use your 10 millimeter wrench underneath it. The T-handle immobilizes the post. And then you can use the 10 millimeter to snug up.
I have a comment about my tool set on my Kawasaki Versys. What I believe was the tool to take out the front axle crumbled immediately upon trying to take out the front axle. Yeah.
Was it metal
It's not
or
a
what was
real-
it?
I mean, it's like it looks like a bolt that you put in the hex, and it was the right 14 millimeter, but it also doubles as a spark plug wrench. So that didn't give me enough thing, and there was nothing in the toolkit worked. I had to, it needed a proper.
You needed a proper Allen
and a breaker bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I torqued it back down to 80 is what they.
Yeah, I was going to say 80. It should be 80 pounds.
Very heavy.
And I've been very, very good about using my torque wrench a lot. Like even my lug nuts, everything.
Yep.
I've been torquing shit.
Yep.
And remember, guys, if you do want to use, if you're doing your valve adjustment, it is absolutely positively okay to use one fucking tiny drop of green or blue Loctite on this. Do not use red Loctite under any circumstance. You can use green or blue Loctite on this. I have no problem if people want to do that. It's fine. In my life, though, I have never seen one of these adjusters back off.
Yeah.
I've never seen one of these check nuts loosen up.
I've only seen
my life.
one that could not be loosened and required too much heat.
Gotta cook her a little bit. Just cook her just a little bit. Red Loctite will put it in a situation that it will not come off. And because what happens is this is a moderate heat environment up here. Not a super high heat environment, but it's a moderate heat environment enough that it will really turn red Loctite into epoxy.
The great news is it's in a hardened rocker and it's a hardened thing. Like I've never fucked one up or broke one off or anything like that.
And I've also never needed to put a drop of anti-seize on it. Ever.
No.
I've never, and I've had some mechanics tell me, oh yeah, I always put anti-seize on there. I'm like, it is an oil bath environment.
Yeah.
I do not think there's a chance in fucking hell that this metal, this hardened goddamn piece of steel is going to require anti-seize compound. I just don't think it is. But anyway, now in a lot of motor vehicles, there will be a hydraulic adjusted valve system. And with the hydraulic valve, the hydraulically adjusted valve system, it's really cool because it uses the oil pressure of the engine to essentially use the oil to inflate a little, bellows, a little cup with another cup on top of it. A little pistone. And there's a spring inside of it sometimes. And there's oil passageways so the oil can get in there, and that pumps it up.
But it's
I
like
never quite understood how they work.
I don't get it either, and it's voodoo-y as shit. Like on the dive ones, because it's not like you screw them in. It's not like you plop them in. They just sit in a hole, and somehow they just work.
And as Sleepy has learned, it fails so frequently.
Oh yeah. And sometimes if you have a Dodge, they fucking suck. But that's a whole different
They might
thing.
even swallow.
Yeah.
So
Usually the intake valve.
okay.
Based on the fact that liquid cannot be compressed.
Correct. Right. That is absolutely right.
There's like no check valve. It's like it should squish back out the hole, but I guess it happens so fast. It's like a dampener. You can't get back out the hole.
That's right. That's the idea. Is once it's built
that
the
was
pressure.
also Sleepy's problem. That he couldn't get back out the hole.
Yeah.
So once it's built the pressure, then it's going to maintain its state. Its
Unsquishiness.
squishiness. Exactly.
It was interesting the first time I rebuilt an Royal Enfield motor, and I put it all together, and then I turned it over, and I'm like, the valves are not valving. What's going on? And I'm like,
And also,
and then luckily after enough turning it over, a little bit that was left in the oil pump
got
filled
up there.
the lifters.
Right, got up there.
And I started working.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, it's got hydraulic valve lifters. So
Correct.
you have to have oil for the valve.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's not the old
I was
motor.
surprised that it really, literally, they were crushed. They would not open the valves
That's
at
right.
all.
Yeah.
So then when you're working on motorcycles that have hydraulically adjusted lifters, whether they be old school pushrod style or overhead cam like you see in the pictures here, this is the old school pushrod style, just above it.
Yeah.
You put these you put these together at zero, so they have zero. They have no lash. They go together because the hydraulic fluid is going to fill that space. And then the spring that's inside of there is going to soften the point of closure and opening, right? And that's the way they work. They're pretty goddamn genius. I got to say, absolutely love them. Hydraulically adjusted valves are great. Sleepy, talk to us for just a brief second about how they cannot be so great.
Oh yeah. So if there's any reason that the oil pressure does not get up to the top of the motor, then guess what happens? The lifters,
They don't work, do they?
No, they don't lift.
No, they collapse. They're at their lowest possible point.
And
They're at their
I'm like-
shortest point.
And I don't, these are connected, but in a car, that leads to your rocker arms jumping off and then flying down the train of other rocker arms, which then start to fly off and then cause all kinds of bad things to happen.
Damn straight. And with the motorcycles, when John was talking about, he's put the thing together and he's trying to, just make sure everything's together, and he's just running it by hand. He's just moving the motor over by hand. Maybe he doesn't even have any oil in it, right? And you're moving that by hand, and you're just checking it. Well, when you're dealing with Harley Davidson, it's going to be zero. Okay, you're gonna adjust that to zero. Now it still has an adjuster on top, and the adjuster's there because you do want to find zero. If you're way off, if something in your valve train isn't right, if your cam is worn out, you see that there's a follower on that lifter, on that rocker arm, that does run directly on the cam, on the surface of the cam. Now, on some motorcycle engines, later Moto Guzzi engines and stuff, we have a roller rocker. There's actually a ball or a wheel that runs between that rocker arm and the cam. Those are fucking awesome, and they're expensive. It costs a lot of money to build a motor that way, but goddamn, they do last long. Because you can imagine a wheel rolling where that paw is rolling against that cam. It's going to last a hell of a lot longer than a metal-on-metal interface. Or if they put like a diamond-like coating or something on the cam, maybe that's going to go away, as Chevy found out, okay, on a lot of cars. But the trick with these hydraulics, and what people forget, is that we live in a part of the world where people park their motorcycle from like November to like fucking March. And when they park their motorcycle, all that delicious oil is at the bottom of the motor. And what's at the top of the motor? But condensation. And the gases and the things that aren't great, that aren't delicious, that aren't down in your oil. Everything that's not in your oil is bad. Especially when the motor's been sitting in your garage as it's 40 degrees in the daytime and 20 degrees at night. The condensation that would be in the outside of your beer mug is on the inside of your engine. And that's water. Anywhere air exists with a temperature change, you're going to have condensation. Well, what will happen is in these hydraulic adjusters, instead of this being full of nice, great oil preventing corrosion from happening, is corrosion will absolutely positively happen. And that will cause these hydraulic pistons to lock. They will fucking seize. And
It's a solid lifter motor now.
it's a solid lifter motor now.
And check this out. So, like, to your point, my truck, the reason I had a problem is because it sat for 2 years in front of the dead guy's house, right?
Yeah.
And so not only does that happen to the lifters, but then the journals getting up there, those same thing. It condensed and it can rust inside those journals, or even get some kind of like even, what do you call it, like scaly, I don't know, buildup or whatever from the condensation.
Gone, the oil turns to tar.
Yeah, right. And so now your oil journals are half of what they should be. So now you're not even getting any chance of the oil pressure. So even if the lifters are even moderately okay, there's not enough oil pressure to make them work anyway. So like all that's terrible.
Harley Davidson lifters are one of my favorite things because they have the roller built in. I think it's a brilliant thing. I think it's a great part of their design. I don't fault them for that. I think it's really cool. I think it's really neat. Keep in mind though, that is this weird little oil operated shock absorber. That's exactly what it does for a living. And it's fucking cool is what it is. I mean, we'll pull a picture up for you guys can see it real quick. But when you see sort of the care that went into the design of this item, it's pretty badass compared to what exists in a lot of other motorcycles. We'll go ahead and pull those up. That's some pretty cool shit. Pretty neat. Designed
You're a motorcycle nerd.
Designed to run a whole lot of fucking miles. Well, you're going to notice if you look up the bottom of it. You look at the bottom of it. There's a circlip in a hole. You see the circlip in the hole?
Yeah.
Guess what goes in there? Oil.
Yeah.
And if you look in the side, you're going to see another hole with a little ball in it, right? Guess what goes in and out of there? More fucking oil, right?
And the ball serves as a check valve.
That's exactly right.
So
It's a
when you
one-way.
turn that motor off, it keeps it pumped up.
Yep, that's exactly right. So when you start your motor up again, hopefully, the valves are still pumped up, right? Super cool. Now, what happens is if things get corroded, things don't want to move up and down anymore, you have what John says is a fixed solid lifter. And now we got a problem.
Which you can have, but
Well, yeah.
Maybe the worst case scenario, but you could also have a lesser serious event would be you get a little corrosion on that check ball, so it doesn't seat fully, and that thing bleeds down every time you shut it off. So every time you start it, you got to build the oil pressure to that lifter before you start.
I think that was the problem with the early V11 motors, wasn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
well, you could. I don't know if it happens, but you could probably lose your push rod because if there's too much lash, that push rod will slide off and go boink,
Yeah.
and not be pushing the rocker anymore.
So, would you believe that the technique for this is to remove said hydraulic adjusters, put them in a pan of PB Blaster overnight,
For transmission fluid.
whatever. ATF is the best fluid on the planet. When in doubt, use ATF. I don't care what
Yep.
it is. That is a
they-
declarative statement.
It literally is made detergent.
aside from gasoline, if there's anything in your motor vehicle and you are not certain what to put in the hole, ATF will do.
Yep.
I've used it for brake fluid. Works.
Come on. Really?
Oh yeah.
Not even a question.
It's
Brake
a,
fluid, power steering fluid,
not even
shock oil.
BSAs and Triumphs use that exclusively in the chain side.
fork oil, ATF.
Yeah, fork oil.
ATF's natural viscosity is 10.
Yeah.
Okay? And it is God's fucking oil. Right? Nobody's worked harder to make it great. Do you know why?
Conditioned seals too.
And how many times in the course of your life do you want to take the cover off of your automatic transmission
Exactly.
in your car?
Yeah.
Have you ever opened up your automatic transmission in your
It
car?
sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is fucking terrifying.
There's aliens in there. They
Yeah.
like pop out and like put eggs in your
The
stomach.
term
It
looks like
fucking sucks.
looks like the advanced levels of doom.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Or like some kind of wormwood or like some kind of weird
like Nashy bullshit.
So-
that just
When they came up with that shit long and long ago, and they went, "Oh, we're gonna have a hydraulic torque converter," and they were, "That's a pretty good idea." And then somebody else went, "No, we're gonna have an entire goddamn automatic transmission. We're gonna have a series of thousands of passageways." Cool. What are you gonna run in there? Not my oil. Yep. All the guys at the big dick table were like, "Yeah, we got an oil for that," and they were like, found out real quickly that wasn't gonna work.
Yep.
And they came up with a type of oil that was like, "We make this shit in a lab. You're not allowed to breathe." Right?
What was the conversation where we have part of the conversation where the hydraulic oil you're getting hit with it? Like,
No, it can kill you.
Oh yeah, no.
But
that
anyway,
that was recently.
How you do this is you soak these in ATF, you soak them in PB Blaster, you put them in anything you want, add a little heat's fine too. If you've got a stuck hydraulic lifter, the magic solution is a wooden table, 2x4, usually works really good, piece of pine. Piece of pine, nice soft wood, get a nice soft wooden hammer or another 2x4 and fucking whack it. And I mean, you're the first two, three times you hit it, you're going to hit it soft.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, and you're like, didn't do it. Do it. No, didn't do it. Wham!
You got to put the H before the W.
Fuck yeah, man.
oh yeah.
Whack it.
Yeah, I mean, I had to do a BMW motor, a straight six. Pulled all the valves out, and I'm on a BMW forum ages and ages ago, and the guy's like, "No, pull them out, soak them, hit them with a block of wood." And I was like, "This is a luxury sports car. I will not be hitting anything with a block of fucking wood." And he goes, "That's exactly how you do it. You go talk to Klaus at Foreign Auto and
Oh, yeah.
Domestic. That's exactly what he's going to tell you to do." And you know what? It worked perfectly. It worked great because they needed to be shocked because they had a corrosion built up around them. And yep, sure, once they did that, everything worked great. So that's the thing, and that's hydraulic adjusted valves. If your motor is very quiet, and it used to not be, think about that. The term that we always say is a tappy valve is a happy valve. If you don't have hydraulic valve adjusters, if you have adjustable valves, if you have push rod especially, there's a lot of lash in a push rod engine.
A tappy tap, it's a happy tap.
Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely true. And when we have bikes that come in and I'm like, "Oh, this motor doesn't sound right." "What do you mean?" "The motor sounds like this." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not right. It's supposed to sound like but then a little running along with it. That little running along with it is that sound that we're looking for. That's the sound I want to hear. I don't want it to sound like, chain. I don't want it to sound like, rattly, rattly, rattly. I want it to be a very pronounced staccato tick, 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 that runs exactly with the sound of the motor's detonation. And you can hear it. And if you don't hear it, grab a screwdriver, put the blade of the screwdriver on the fucking valve cover, and hold it up to the bone beneath your ear. You don't have to put it in your ear. It doesn't help. Hold it up to the bone beneath your ear by your jawbone, and you will hear what's going on inside that motor, clear as day.
Ear, not rear.
Right.
Yeah. But that mechanic stethoscope trick,
Yeah.
if you have just a long screwdriver, as long as the handle's not just a wooden piece handle or, some rubber handle, but if you've got a legit screwdriver and you hold it up to there, hold it to the top of the valve cover, you'll hear one distinctly present sound. And then if you go just below the valve cover where the head is and the valves are, you can move that screwdriver around on a 4-valve engine, and you can hear which of the valves isn't tapping. And then you'll have a pretty good idea of what we need to do to get in that once we get in that motor. Believe it or not, that shit works on shim and bucket valves too. And shim and bucket valves are the devil because you don't know what shims you need until you're in.
Yep.
Which is a son of a bitch. Whereas I did find that on single-cylinder bikes especially, you can use the mechanic stethoscope trick and just go around. And you can go around and find all 4 valves, and you can hear noises. You can hear shit. And things will sound dramatically different. And you'd think with all the noise of a motor running that you wouldn't be able to pick up that clear, you can visualize the sewing machine activity that's happening inside that motor with that screwdriver transmitting the sounds directly from the engine, the valve body or the head into your ear. It's fucking amazing. And try it. If you've never done it, go home when you're waking your bike up or something and just grab the big, your big screwdriver and just do that. It's fucking crazy how good it is. And I have mechanic stethoscopes. We own them. They do not work as good as the screwdriver trick. The screwdriver trick works fantastically. Super fun stuff, too.
We are trained professionals. Do not try that at home.
Don't try that at home. Please do. Well, I bought one of those fancy stethoscopes.
Phil, I put the end of the screwdriver into my eardrum.
Yeah, the Sharpie bit. I put the spiky point. Right. It turns out I got a JIS ear hole.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Got jizz in my ear.
Oh, yeah. That was $10 level.
There you go.
That was good. You got to be in on that one. Oh, that was funny.
Anybody got anything else?
I do, actually.
Fire away.
So I have this, we have our trip coming up, right?
Yes, you do.
And I'm going to ride down, and I found a good, nice 12-hour way to get there through all the wigglies and stuff like that.
Tell the people where you're going.
To the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm from here, So I'm going to ride down, meet the guys down there. And so I was going to, I'm thinking I'm going to be alone in my helmet for around 12 hours. And that's a scary place to be. So I was like, and I had my little helmet comm system and stuff, but the speakers are they're okay for commuting around and whatever. But that long, I wanted to get something better. Started thinking about earbuds again. But you know how when you wear earbuds, they always hit the outside of the helmet and they hurt your ears.
Yeah. You get that ache.
That little ache after a while, and it just drives you crazy. So I remembered, right before I kind of quit doing live music and stuff, I remembered in-ear monitors, and I remembered how good they sounded and how flat they fit inside your ear. That's their whole point,
right? Is
to be in your ear. So I looked them up, and of course, they're all $200-300 for a set. But then on Amazon, I found this whole bootleg, underground level of in-ear monitors. So I paid $20
straight from the factory that actually makes the 200.
Yeah, whatever. So I paid $20 for these in-ear monitors. And I had this Bluetooth amp that is amazing. It's 3 times the volume of your phone.
Sure.
And now your phone can pair to it.
Yeah.
Dude, I put these things in my ears, and it sounded like a recording studio in your helmet.
Nice.
So I was like, holy shit. I mean, so much better than anything I've ever had in the last 25 years that I was giddy about it, right? So then yesterday, they dried enough that I was able to cut some of my yard. Mm-hmm. So I tried them even with that, with the loud ass John Deere wailing away with just a hat of nothing. Perfect.
Good noise cancellation.
It just because the way it seals in your ear. It's not active noise canceling or anything.
Just
isolation.
But it's so good because you don't have to go that loud. You have the power, but you really don't need to go that loud because it sounds so fucking good and just blocks the noises out. So now I'm excited.
That's really cool because I can tell you, I have the Sena 10C Pro.
Yep.
Which has, the reason I bought it is the 4K camera, the 4K video camera. It's on my helmet. It's great. But the speakers that come with it are shit. They are absolute shit. And I cannot make them. I've put foam behind them several times to move the speakers closer and closer and closer to my ear holes, to the point now where I can barely put my helmet on without putting half the helmet on and then wedging this side on. And the pressure against my ears is pretty terrible, right?
Yeah, there's zero pressure. These things fit right inside your ear hole. The wire goes up and over and behind your ear and down. So for me, I'm using it as with the Bluetooth amp. Mm-hmm. But if you have a Sena, any of the ones that have the normal 3.5-inch jack, you could plug these into that jack and then run these things in your head.
I mean, I could. My phone has a 3, so I could just plug it right into my phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. If but if you don't want to have the wire, I wanted to keep my phone in front of me, so it was
Put
30.
Your phone in your pocket.
Well, you could do that, but you can't use it for.
Yeah.
So, but dude, this thing for $34 is the other. So the things were 20, and this thing's 34. Yeah. It lasts for 12 to 14 hours on a charge, and it has like literally 3 times the amperage of your phone. So like if you really want to crank some shit, I mean, I mean, I've run it at like 3.
Dangerously loud.
Yeah, it really can.
Because when I'm running the Senna on I've got it maxed.
Right.
I'm 100% maxed all the time. And that's on a quiet bike.
Right.
Just wind noise.
Right.
And I bought the Senna helmet. Don't do that.
Yeah, all those things are overrated, man. You just can't hear it. Dude, this is so...
Even when you let them wire it, even when you let them put their speakers in it,
it's still
and
not
they're
that
bragging
great.
about JBL or Infinity speakers, whatever.
Dude, I did a video on this because it was so... Nothing has blown me away. Like, you know, like I've been trying for years to get decent audio in helmets, you know, and I was trying to do all these different ways. I wish I would have thought of this a long time ago. I mean, it is... I'm talking like it's going from Stone Ages to like current music. Like it's...
Well, and I like it because I've got 7 helmets.
Yeah, and now you don't have to worry about that.
And now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've got the Senna helmet I bought, which I've worn, I think, 7 times. Because I'm super not happy with the audio quality in that.
Right.
And also don't like the button configuration is just ridiculous. It's so
They get
fucking
fucking
stupid.
crazy.
Oh my God. And then the voice commands on the Senna are useless. Senna, play my music on random.
Calling mom.
Calling, yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm like, no.
calling the local radio
Right.
station.
Play the next song. Going to AM radio. Nobody's ever said go to AM radio. In the history of time, nobody's ever said play AM radio.
Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
Oh,
exactly.
God.
At maximum volume.
Actually,
The,
that could probably still get that channel.
but it was awful. And so I've got 3 or 4 different Bluetooth headsets in 3 or 4 of my different helmets. And there is not one of them that works well. They all kind of suck. And so I've been kind of doing the thing where I have the earbuds in. But you're right, the earbuds have about a 30-minute tolerance time before they just suck.
It's just because the way they hit the back of the helmet, they just stick out a little too far. Dude, these things, so when you look at them, I was like, that thing's fucking massive.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not going to work. Then you twist it into your ear.
Okay.
You put the wire over your ear.
Yeah.
You look, and in my video, you can see, you look from the side.
They're just flat.
Your ear sticks out before the speaker does.
Wow.
So when you pull the helmet on,
Yeah.
it barely touches it. All it's doing is just kind of like a gentle thing holding them in place. Like not even that.
Is it lifting and cupping?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's an ear bra.
I love it, man. I just like the idea of that too.
I mean, like, you know, I love music, right?
Right.
And like it blew me away. It literally is like going from like, wow, I had like that single speaker in my fucking first Honda Civic to like, you know, what comes in cars now. Like that's the difference in audio quality. It's so ridiculous. So I'm pumped. I can't wait for it.
I've been using a similar product. It's called Earfuse. I think it's spelled with a C, F-U-Z-E. But it is like these speakers that you put in your ear, and then they send this putty with it.
Yep.
And you mold the putty so that it fits.
yeah.
It's like a custom fit.
I have those.
That would
It's
be
like dental impressions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like an in-ear monitor. That's like a moldable in-ear monitor.
And they're
yeah.
like $30 also.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
the
got the
same kind of
standard
thing.
jack, which I plug into the back of my Senna unit.
Right.
But when I don't want to use it, I still have my speakers in the helmet
Right.
too. But once you plug it into that jack, it cuts the helmet speakers out.
And does your helmet mic still work?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that.
Helpful.
Yeah, because that is something I'd be out. Because I love the functionality that the Senna 10C. I like the camera.
Right.
I like the still photos. Look good. I like the video. The video looks good. The audio that the mic picks up of the outside world sounds great. The audio looks cool. It looks good. But man, does it suck at like what little volume is there, and there's not enough of it. Sounds like shit.
Right. And I mean, like when I drive to the podcast or ride to the podcast this summer or last summer, whatever.
Yeah.
The helmet speakers are fine if I'm going to be on the bike for 25, 30 minutes and I don't want to deal with anything and whatever. But if you know you're going to be riding for like 6 hours on a day or something, you're really like you're relying on something to keep you occupied and stuff. That's a game changer. Like now, you know.
So Dan, what do you do? I mean, are you able to like Bluetooth into your hearing aids or stuff?
Yeah, they have Bluetooth, but they're about $4,000. So Sleepy's solution is way better.
Jesus Christ. 4,000, and you have to change batteries every 4 days, right? Like,
Every 3.
oh my God.
It used to be 5 before I had Bluetooth in them. The Bluetooth just kills the batteries. And you know, they make rechargeable ones now, but they don't even last a whole day.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Right. So that to me, that's useless.
So you can listen to music while you're riding.
What?
You can listen.
I can, but I typically don't.
I'm sorry, I'm listening to music right now. Hey Dan, what are you listening to? A better podcast.
Why do you think Dan has been so quiet?
You mother.
I can't believe Johnny fell for that. So well played, Dad. Well played.
We have not seen Sean in what, a few months at the podcast. So Sean, you have a look. What's been going on? Catch us up on everything.
Gee. Well, so
On the spot.
I was gonna mention two things. My good pal Wilbur just took the Ohio motorcycle class, and they let him take it on the GTS.
Michelle and I had a long talk about that.
Yes, so he did that fully complete. Had a great time. Met new people. Apparently, someone fell and broke their leg.
Oh, man.
Ouch.
That stinks.
Yeah.
Did they pass?
I don't know.
We had a lady in the shop the other day. She said she fell. She'd taken the course once and passed the course. A couple of years later, she decided hadn't ridden in a few years. She's going to go and take the course again. She didn't need to. She had an endorsement. She wanted to brush up. She was on one of the many myriad 200cc, 250cc bikes, and an operator in front of her had a no shit moment and just panic stopped. Well, she panic stopped as well, and she took a dive, but of course she Superman put her hand out. And it was like a 0 mile an hour fall.
Yep.
But she put her hand out and she broke her hand.
Oh, God.
She did the old,
Yep.
the thumb that goes back to your wrist one. Oh. That was the one I did last year, falling off my fucking office chair. It's just now getting it back now, about 7 months. So she said she fell and she fucking broke her hand. So fortunately she's wearing a motorcycle glove and everything else, and she's clearly a fucking animal because she finished and she got her certificate.
Oh, nice.
So she finished with a broken thumb.
Wow.
Got her certificate and then went to the doctor. She's a nurse. She's an RN, so she's not stupid. She knows exactly what she's doing. But I was like, that is so fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you didn't need any of that. You have your license. And she goes, I know, but I was trying to be a good person. And, I took a couple of years off to have a kid. So wanted to get back into it the right way.
Why not?
And, yep, there you go.
I watched a guy wreck 3 times, and
They passed him?
He still passed him. I mean, he stuck with it.
Yeah. When I was an instructor, we used to say you have to work pretty hard to fail.
The one thing I thought, so Wilbur was telling me he originally took the test first and had issues with how they set up the cone weaving aspect.
Sure. Well, there is a part of the test at the end of the test where they make a decision based on the displacement of your vehicle.
Yeah, and I think they gave him they thought he was a smaller bike than he was, and he had trouble with it. And that, later on when he did it in the course, it was just fine.
Yeah, that's
But
exactly it.
When I took it, there was every other giant Harley bike that went ahead of me, so they didn't bother readjusting it.
Right.
So I didn't have they didn't try to do the super close together thing with me. Right. Yeah. But he had a great time with it. He said it was well worth doing.
I think so, and it's so great that there was a period of about 9 or 10 years where if somebody went there with a small displacement motorcycle or a scooter, that instructors were saying, no, you can't do that. Meanwhile, it's been on the billeting for that program from day one that if your vehicle requires a motorcycle endorsement to operate it, then you should be allowed to use that vehicle in the training program because that's what you're required to take the test on. That's what you're required to be. That's what you'll be operating. And in our particular state, 49 cc's no pedal means you got to have a fucking license. Now, they had a cutoff. Somebody somewhere had mysteriously pulled a number of 110 cc's out of their ass.
We looked at this today.
Haven't met that person
I
yet.
think it's 100.
Yeah, it could be.
Because we looked it up today because we were talking about the scooter. Because the guy at work is like, yeah, the scooter. If you're just going to take it on the scooter, you should only get a scooter license. And I said, nah. Yeah, if it's over 100, I didn't know at the time. I thought it was 50 cc, but it's actually 100. He
100
looked it
cc's.
up. He's like, you're right. If you take it on anything over 100 cc's, you get your motorcycle license.
That's right. And there is a lack of information at the License Bureau. So if you show up and somebody says, well, what are you riding? I'm riding a scooter. Okay, they're going to have you take the scooter license. And I'm not talking about the road course. I'm not talking about the on-bike test. I'm talking about you taking your temporary test there, so they'll have you do scooter license. The license, the on-bike test, is the same for motorcycle as it is for scooter. But now what you do is you have a document in your pocket that says you're not allowed to ride anything bigger than 100 cc's. Who the fuck wants that?
Right.
Especially when you had to go through exactly the same hoops as the guy riding the 1,000cc motorcycle, 1,200cc motorcycle. And when I first ran into this, I contacted the state of Ohio because we know people there. And I said, I have an issue. My customer went in and said she was riding a scooter, and they said, well, then you take the scooter test. And I said, the person at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles Licensing failed to acknowledge that her scooter is a 650cc Bergman and goes 115 miles per hour. Right. She does not currently have a license that legally allows her to operate the vehicle she's operating, because the person at the testing station, or the person at the license bureau, did not take the extra one goddamn second to say anything other than scooter. Oh, it's a scooter, 49 cc's, you don't need a license for that, which we hear every day. And that's absolutely not true. So I've just had another phone call with the folks in Ohio, at the state of Ohio, and I voiced my grievances as politely and as well-reasoned and insightful as I could. What could possibly go wrong? Because we do have to address some things, and we are very close to being in a position where we could get a graduated license in the state of Ohio. The powers that be are starting to look at that and acknowledge that there's something to that.
Well, should we? Because just like you're saying, like lumping all scooters from 49cc up to 650cc in the same basket.
Right.
You're also saying that someone could take my 125cc Hunter Cub, get their license, and then turn right around and buy a 2400cc.
Exactly.
I'm getting me a ZX14 next week. Woo!
Yeah, ZX14 or Hayabusa or Road King or whatever.
First dealership I worked at was in a part of town where a lot of guys rolled in with fat stacks.
Yep.
And gold fronts, and they would buy the brandy newest Hayabusa, and they would launch it across our parking lot at maximum velocity onto Broadway, and they would make it across Broadway into the used car dealership at maximum velocity.
Where they bought a used Dodge Charger.
and that shit was like that. Very rarely ended in anything other than an ambulance ride.
Yep.
And it also put us in a bad position because the dealership I worked at was fond of leasing for people with credit challenges.
Oof.
Right? And that was a tough place to work. Yep. Because then that vehicle that they just destroyed was never their vehicle. So that vehicle has been the dealership's vehicle the entire time. And it falls under the dealership's insurance policy. And I was like, that thing's totaled. And the general manager come out and be like, the hell it is. I mean, what? There you go. Now you're
You're gonna fix it.
It's going to get fixed. And I'm like, the hell it is. And I was like, well, I'm on the sales side over here, so what goes on behind that curtain, none of my fucking business.
Right.
Yeah. And then I'd see that same bike roll out, reframed, and it would go out to somebody else. But people that have credit challenges have been known to pay an $800 a month lease on a Hayabusa.
Yeah.
That they will never own. Yep. It's vicious. But, if you want to roll in that group, that's what you need.
Isn't like the repo thing is like a month too, right? It's like miss one payment
because you don't need to do a whole lot of justification for the repo because the bank's never involved.
Right. Yeah. Pay here, buy here.
The dealership always owns the vehicle.
Right.
So you're never anything but an authorized user.
Right.
So at any moment the dealership can say, we just want it back now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard that some of those places, some of those cars or bikes and stuff could have up to 45 owners in the course of a few years.
Well, it has one owner. It has 75
borrowers,
users,
whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
Abusers.
We had a couple of luxury cars that found their way through the shop occasionally too that were totally fucking crashed. That he bought super cheap. He bought them as salvage, and he'd fix them up enough to be roadworthy.
Yeah.
And then lease them out. And they'd go out, they'd come back, they'd go out, they'd come back. And it was just like one of those things. It was the revolving door. And yeah, I've seen some I've seen some Lamborghinis get crashed hard and then be magically put back together. And you're like, the Bondo wasn't dry when they painted it. There is not one factory Lamborghini component in the entire first 2 feet of the car. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I'm pretty sure the subframe and everything under there. Oh, no, that's all not Lamborghini. That's all homemade. Yeah, just stitched and welded together. It is Lamborghini. It is very much, all the Fiero parts all found their way out of hiding back onto that car. But yeah, it is a thing about a graduated license saves lives. Absolutely, every single time. If the new rider, the kid that came into my shop today that said, yeah, he's looking around, he's thinking about buying a helmet. Great. What kind of bike do you have? Well, my uncle and I are going out to buy a KTM 790. You're thinking about buying a helmet, and you're looking at jackets, and you're going out to buy a KTM 790. You're 5'6" and 135 soaking wet. And I went, I'm going to wheel out a Honda CB 500X. I'm going to have you sit on it. And if both your feet can hit the ground, I'll be God shocked. And yet you want to ride a motorcycle that's 3.5 inches higher than this. So I pulled the CB 500X out. I said, now this is the motorcycle you should probably be buying. He got 1 foot on the ground, with the ball of 1 foot on the ground at about a 7-degree lean. Right? So then my paternal instinct kicks in and says, maybe this isn't the bike for you either. I see something in the shape of an R3 in your future. One of our customers is trying to sell one. I hooked him up. I gave him the guy's information. I was like, you're totally the right guy for an R3. Ride it around for a year or two, and then go buy the $11,500 or $12,000 790. Well, I don't want a bike that's made in Japan. I don't want to tell you where the 790 is built. It's going to fuck your whole world up, man.
Well, that's cool. The Yamaha's made in Thailand.
You're not ready for any of this information. Nope. You're so not ready for this. I'm an experienced rider, man. I rode dirt bikes when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Not an experienced rider.
What do people still have against Japan? I mean, are we still referencing World War II that we don't like Japanese anything? I mean,
I swear to God, the shit that comes out of people's mouths in my shop blows me away.
I mean, saying Jap crap and stuff like that. That is we're done with that, I thought.
The dude who wanted to kill me with the Trump flags in the back of his Dodge Mitsubishi Dakota, right? Because I was driving, no shit, my Mitsubishi that says Mitsubishi on the side, my Mitsubishi Topo, and I'm driving around my cool little JDM car, just 660 cc's, all of fucking 60 miles an hour, right? Driving Mr. Sneezy around,
right?
And this guy pulls up next to me. Yeah, just fucking crush that piece of shit, you fucking faggot. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And it was a Dakota rusted up to the door handles with not one but 2 fuck Joe Biden flags.
Well, you have to have 2.
Yeah.
So you can see it from both sides.
Right.
There's protocol,
You
dude.
do realize that Japan is one of our fiercest allies.
I promise you, my friend, if you bought a Dodge, your Dodge, you bought a Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi 6.
Exactly.
My grandparents' Plymouth Acclaim had it.
This is what you're driving, my friend.
That's the problem is once Dodge separated from Diamond Star, the motors went to shit.
I promise you.
Like they got worse.
I promise you.
You shut your sexy mouth with that fake news, boy.
Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to build the same car, but we're going to take away the Japanese engineering.
Right.
Huh? What?
Well, it's like Sterling. Let's build the Honda Accord, but make it suck.
And all the Seiko watches are going to be made by Armatron from this point on out.
That was the discussion.
What could
today.
possibly go wrong?
Right.
American car brands kind of gave American workers a bad name because they were
Because the 80s.
because of the 80s, and they were just trying to make money, and they weren't, you know what I mean?
Planned obsolescence.
But meanwhile, American workers were what gave Toyota their good name.
Yeah.
Because we made the Camrys here in
Let's
this
say-
country.
Oh, absolutely.
There's also that-
My Honda Element sitting down there in the driveway was made right down the road.
Yeah. So the reliability of Japanese vehicles is American workers built them.
Yeah.
So we really deserve more credit.
The Saturn was one of the greatest cars built in the mid 90s, early 2000s.
produced mostly in South Korea, though.
No. The ones in Tennessee, the early ones, the SC1 and the SC2, were actually really amazing
He's talking
cars.
about SUVs.
Like
Yeah, the SUV.
My View.
The View, yeah. No, well, does yours have the Honda motor in it, or is it
It
the
has
early one?
No, it has the GM 3.5.
Okay, because they used Honda. They used a Honda 3-liter for a while.
Yes.
But like the SC1 and the SC2, they were amazing cars. When Saturn first came out, it was America's answer to Japan.
Grandma had one, and I can't complain.
Yep. And then GM got involved and went, "No, we can't have these cars be nicer than Chevys."
Yeah,
And-
but the same guy who comes into my shop wearing the Make
Yeah.
America Great
Oh, yeah,
Again
yeah.
hat, and we see him coming.
Oh yeah.
They make sure to know. They make sure you know. They've got a script, an approved script.
Oh yeah.
And when they show up, they are very clear that they only want to look at Italian bikes.
That's interesting.
And I'm going to fucking promise you, on the off chance the guy listens to our podcast, I'm not going to drop his name. But from the moment he hits my shop until the moment he fucking leaves, he is on a brainwashing campaign. And he is like, whatever the name of the news channel is. He is just the tinfoil doctrine shit. But he will only look at, sit on, worship, admire Italian bikes.
So Tojo bad, Mussolini good.
I swear to fucking God, there's no logic behind it.
What an odd hill to die on.
Right?
It is an incredibly odd hill to die on. And especially when I put him on a bike that I know is going to fit him well. It's going to serve him well. He has a certain shape about him. Let's put it that way. I put him on a bike that I know is going to work great for him. And he goes, it's fucking Kimco. It's fucking Korean. And no. He goes, yeah, Kimco. And I was like, oh my God, that is something that would come out of your leader's mouth. That is exactly a Trumpism.
Of the three bikes you could sit on, Korea was actually our ally.
That's what I'm like. I've owned 2 Kias, and I'm perfectly happy. I mean, one was built in Alabama, the other one's probably from South Korea, but again, one of our fiercest allies.
And every time I say Kimco, the Kwanyang Motor Company, he goes, yeah, kimchi. You know those people that think that they're clever and have like a little, Joe in the hoe, and that's just how they say it from now on. They just always say it that way from now on.
You're probably known as Kimchi Phil.
It's kimchi all the time. I put him on 5 different bikes. I bring him back to the Kimco. It fits him fucking perfectly. It's the exact amount of money he wants to spend. Great.
Should rebadge it for him.
I put him on the Vespa. It's $3,000 north of his price point.
Yeah.
Where he wants to spend. And this is that thing. He is buying the permission to come back to our shop over and over and over. And last time he visited, I said, you do know Vespa's never going to lower their price. Vespa's never going to bring the price of the product that you want to buy down to where you want to pay.
Yeah. Right.
So what are you hoping for? Are you hoping that I will have that bike here used someday at the price you want to pay? Or have you just given yourself permission to visit here frequently by saying, the right one hasn't come along just yet? Because I've taken everything you've told me and I found the perfect bike for you, but you seem to have this aversion to that. And I said, the name is Kwanyang Motor Company. It came out of Honda. So if you want to play it straight, let's play it straight. It came from Honda. Kwanyang was manufacturing established by Honda to build for them. I've owned Honda motorcycles that the parts said Kwanyang Motors on it.
Yeah.
We know that exists. So know your history a little bit better. Acknowledge that. And then, do you have a problem with me selling you a Honda motorcycle? Do you have a problem with a Honda motorcycle? Well, I really fucking whatever. I said, okay, all right, great. Do you have a problem with BMW? well, they're fucking ridiculously expensive, and they're going to break down all the time, and
I wasn't mad about the German aspect.
And I said,
Right,
okay, I
right.
said,
It wasn't
so
a national origin question.
politically, you have no problem with the Germans, right?
The Germans.
And okay, I said, well, Kimco manufactures for BMW, so the Germans were impressed. Honda's their dad,
It's like Rotax.
right? Exactly,
It's like
right. And he goes, well, you know what? If it ain't Italian, I ain't buying it. And I said, can I interest you in a Moto Guzzi? And he goes, no, I want a scooter. He just wants a fucking scooter. And we figured it out. We figured out that all he was doing was, we have this concept called the 4-door Corvette. There are people that keep coming back into the shop and they go, yeah, I'm just going to buy the 4-door Corvette.
That's it.
And they're protecting themselves from ever having to make a purchase because there is no such thing as a 4-door Corvette.
Next time he comes in, I am bringing a clutch out from a GT250
Oh.
that says TGB on the back of it.
Look, I promise you, whatever car he drove up in, we could spend 1 minute and
I
identify
know.
16 manufacturers that are not in America.
Absolutely.
He drives up in a Buick.
Taiwan Golden Bee.
Oh my gosh.
Buicks are from China.
The Enclave?
Or was it the?
I don't
was
fucking care. Honestly, I don't care.
Or the German Buicks.
I don't care. I don't care.
Right.
And that's how little it means to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I just don't fucking care.
We've invested too much in
You know
this
what's
guy already.
sad is-
apparently.
But the point is, I want to promise you that there are people that will hate you for what you're riding, and there are people that will hate you for what you're driving. It is better to just get really fucking good at ignoring them.
Or
And-
just hate people automatically.
Well, or just give them a lot of fucking space.
You know what's weird
Because
about
while they're flipping you off, they're usually swerving, right? Because their skill set's probably not dialed in, right? If they're looking at you to flip
Not
you
enough
off,
blood flow.
yeah, and if
Right.
they're looking at you to flip you off, they're not looking at the road.
Right.
There's this phenomenon where some people are like, yeah, I want to go to these platforms that are free and open and anything will be on them and they think that they're so smart that they'll be able to weed through it. And then they immediately just start sucking
Yeah.
up all the
Oh,
misinformation and spewing. I had a conversation with my cousin about not contrails. What are they calling them? They're not...
Chemtrails?
Chemtrails. We're calling them chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
I'm like, no, they're not chemtrails. They're contrails.
Contrails, dude.
Do a little bit of basic
But just
research.
changing the word
Yeah.
adds factuality to it. So you're trying to have parasites.
For years we have tried to discover why, like the Aztec society failed. Like everybody's looking at all these mass civilization where they just failed. Like everybody just woke up one day and went, nah, we're gonna walk off into the woods. Fuck you. And looking at now, I'm like, no, I get it. We're just too stupid. We're gonna choke on our fucking tongues.
Well, this gentleman also told me that in 4 years the internal combustion engine would be illegal.
Sorry.
And I said, then you should buy one of my Zero Electrics and be ahead
Absolutely.
of the game. And I said, and it's made in America.
Yep. That's
I said it's made in America and it's electric, which means when they take away your internal combustion engine,
Yep.
you'll be way ahead of them.
Yep.
And you'll have the vehicle that is already set up for that.
I think Exxon and Toyota are going to prove that wrong.
we should paint.
Exxon's doing hydrogen blue,
Yeah.
where they take hydrocarbons and separate them and they make hydrogen. And Toyota,
Right.
there's the Mirai. They already built a hydrogen car. They're just earning fueling stations.
Well, yeah, because the Hondas had the Insight. They would
Well, not
only
the
lease them in
Insight,
California.
hydrogen only.
In California, they would only lease them, and
It's a hydrogen Civic.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I'm not going to lie, hydrogen fuel cell is to me the most attractive.
James May drove the shit out of one of those.
Exactly.
And loved it. Thought it was the greatest car he's ever owned.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, you can't keep them. Like Honda won't allow
one of
you to
those
keep 'em.
things. Right.
I still say we
General
probably-
Motors took back all their electric cars.
Yeah, I know.
So there's a reason you're only allowed to lease certain things.
Yeah.
Because if something fucking terrible goes wrong,
Yeah.
then you can't sue us because the car that we own did something terrible. We're just going to take it back.
Yeah.
The lease is suddenly over. That's fine. With the motorcycle things, I don't think that we have anything to worry about internal combustion engines going away anytime soon because
No.
we represent such a tiny segment of the load of carbon emissions and things that exist.
I want a hydrogen turbine car.
Yeah. Hey,
Yes.
look, dude, do whatever you want, but here's what I can promise you. Do you know that there are all those pre-50s and 60s cars that are still out there that are historical license plates and are endowed by their maker by certain unalienable rights? Inalienable rights that they are allowed to burn lead. Seriously. They have to.
Yeah, that's what they require. Right?
Yeah.
They have to. And that you can get a license plate for them the last 50 goddamn years, right? That our country is so hung up on nostalgia and history that if you think that anybody's ever going to come along and take away your fucking 68 GTO from my cold, dead hands, motherfucker, Joe Biden drives a Corvette.
Yeah.
2-door or 4-door?
From the 60s. Yeah, exactly. He got one of the, he waited around for one of those 4-door
He waited
specials.
around for the 4-door.
But you know what? At some point, though, it's like at some point, like get people to like update the fucking things.
Right.
Like at some point, when fuel no longer makes sense to make fuel that is going to run in cars that were made in 1950, maybe update the motor. You know what I mean? Like
You can,
Well, I know,
but you
that's-
can also not.
But that's what
Right.
like right now at work we're doing a thing where we have a 86 Monte Carlo.
Right.
And we took it to SEMA and the garage and they tested it to see like the emissions that it was getting and then the horsepower.
How clean is it?
Oh, originally?
Yeah.
It was like
Not clean at all.
No, it was
no.
terrible.
It's a mess.
And it made 140
I was gonna say 140
horsepower.
horse.
No
Yeah,
power,
nothing,
no
right?
power and all the pollution.
So now it's going to make like 500 horsepower, be 1,000% cleaner, and all this, and it's still going to be bad. It's still going to be a hot rod. So it's just like at some point, I think saying that nobody would ban hot rods makes sense, but at the same time, at some point they might have to be like, you know what, dude, maybe you can't run that 1934 Model A. Or
My
whatever
37 Chrysler Square 6 that I love dearly, businessman's coupe and the whole thing, in addition to its 87 octane gas, also got a quart of lead substitute poured into it. Just to lubricate the lifters, just to lubricate the top end of the motor, because that's what lead existed to do. That's why it was there. It's lubricate valve seats, exactly right. And I would add that additive to it, and it wasn't cheap, but it made the car happy and the car ran great. And my father had a car, and he said, I don't need to do that. I'm running premium gas in it. I don't need the lead. It did not survive.
Nope.
It had a very short lifespan. It was very expensive and a very big pain in the ass.
Yep.
For him to go out and find a fucking pristine head for a 1939 Buick Roadmaster Straight 8. Turns out there aren't too many of those stick on the ground. But I ran the synthetic lead additive to my vehicle, and it was, who the fuck knows? I have no idea what the chemical was. I know it wasn't lead, right? But as long as it wasn't lead, that's okay. Because our country hit a low water mark in the mid-70s, test scores, because the amount of lead that was out in the air.
Yeah.
And
17%.
Yep.
What do you
Pretty
call
bad.
a,
Down,
what do you
yeah.
call a man with a 2-inch penis? Cinch.
oh man, that's
I looked up some dad jokes and it was like insert name.
that was a
You
dad
got
joke.
mad? You fucking added a whole extra inch. I'm fucking happy.
I don't know if we charged $10 for that one on.
When he's lying on his back, his sundial actually says noon.
My boss hates it when I shorten his name to Dick, especially when his name is Steve.
So anybody got anything else?
Well, did we get anything? Hate mail?
No, but I'm going to open these up.
Okay.
My
Okay, so we're
wife
going to open these up.
My wife asked me to spoon. I'd prefer to fork.
I got one.
They said that spooning leads to forking.
And both of them lead to sporking.
All right, hang on, Phil.
Go ahead, keep going.
6th grade teacher, science teacher, Mrs. Parks, asked her class, which human body part increases at 10 times its size when stimulated? No one answered until little Mary stood up and says, you should not be asking 6th graders questions like that. I'm going to tell my parents, and they're going to go and tell the principal, who will then fire you. Mrs. Parks ignored her and asked the question again, which body part increases 10 times when it's stimulated? Little Mary's mouth fell open and she spoke to those around her, boy, is she going to be in big trouble. The teacher ignored her again and said, anybody? Finally, Billy stood up, looked around nervously, and said, the body part that increases 10 times its size when stimulated is the pupil of the eye. Mrs. Parks said, very good, Billy. Then turned to Mary and said, and as for you, young lady, I have 3 things to say. 1, you have a dirty mind. 2, you didn't read your homework last night. And 3, one day, you're going to be very, very disappointed.
That's great.
Gonorrhea would have been a good name for diarrhea medicine.
Yes, it would. All right, we have a letter. We have an actual letter, an actual written on paper letter. I hold in my hand.
that's plus.
That's
10
real
points.
viewer mail. You can hear.
With a real writing stick.
Is that written with Sharpie?
It was written with a Sharpie.
It looks like it's
Plus 20 points.
looks like the Zodiac
Plus 20
Killer's gotten in
points.
touch with us.
Hey, Phil and the crew of Cleveland Moto. Thanks for reading my question on air and for plugging the shop. Definitely above and beyond work there. Hope you enjoy these treats from Tucson. The Sotol is my absolute favorite. And Tom, check out the Janus DXT or the Skirly Low...
Surly?
Surly. He's talking about bicycles, I think. The
Surly.
Yeah, the Janus DXT.
Okay.
Or the Surly Low Grade. Low Grade. Sorry,
Okay,
Surly Low
because
Grade.
I've heard of Surly.
Yeah, so we can probably find out
yeah,
more
yeah.
about that. Both are brands sold at Fairview Cycle, located around the corner from the shop.
Gotcha.
Your shop, not mine. so Fairview
Yeah.
Cycle.
What was the bicycle thing?
Bicycle
I was
shop
talking
by
about-
us, right? Exactly.
Talking about buying a
Surly Low
bicycle.
Side and
Yeah,
Janus DXT.
This
right?
guy's on point.
Or Jarvis. Probably Jarvis.
absolutely.
Kids.
Jeez, oh, man.
Great. Cheers, boys. Elliot and the crew.
Roadrunner
Cycles.
Yeah,
Roadrunner
yeah.
Cycles. Roadrunner Cycles. Best place,
Wicked.
absolutely the best place to go if you're in Tucson. And they will deliver your fucking bicycle on the back of a motorcycle.
There you go.
Because that's how fucking baller they are. But let me show you something else. So the first bottle of goodness is Delbeck Classic American Single Malt Whiskey. This is nice. This is like, pass that along. So we're gonna try that. So that's the first thing. But then this has got my fucking attention. So tall. Somebody who speaks Spanish is going to have to read this because it says, to me, it just says La Higuera Dacilerian Leofilium.
I miss Oscar.
Aldama Chihuahua Sotol Spirits. And this is 46.2 percentage points. And yeah, this looks fucking amazing. He said this is his absolute favorite. There you go. Yay! Hejo a Mexico. So that's bad.
Break it open,
So we got that. We got that.
Sean. Break it open.
Wait. Oh. There's more.
Okay.
Well, you guys can go play with that.
Yeah.
We're passing it around, open it up,
around.
taste
I was gonna
it,
say I
taste
was
it,
offering
taste it.
glasses and ice.
Show the glass.
Okay. All right. We're running along, so we're going to get moving right along.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil and the boys, just a little something to show appreciation for all you do. Still loving the G400C and the Liberty 150. Nice. Enjoy so much the #1 motorcycle podcast in the world. 5 fucking stars.
Holy shit.
Recently was forced to retire due to the Cleveland Cliffs Weirton shutting down, which is true. So that happened. So he was forced into retirement. So I had to drop down and tier on the podcast on my Patreon level. Until I see how finances work out. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the gift. I love seeing Dan and the boys. I get excited when there's a new bourbon in town, so I'm sending one your way. Yours truly, Dave Swangen. Swangen. So Swangen sent
That has
us
good sound to it.
a box.
Holy shit.
Yeah, look at that. That's a box.
It's got drawings on it.
This is a magnificent box.
Thank God for
Oak and Eden.
It's morning in America.
Get it out of the box.
Oh,
Grab it by the neck.
Oh my god.
Wow.
presentation.
That's a fucking bottle right there.
All right, there we go. We got it.
Nice.
It's been unfucking housed.
that looks.
That looks gorgeous. Bourbon Inspire, bourbon whiskey finished with an American oak spiral. Bourbon, wood, American oak. And this is 90 proof. And it says fire medium. You probably know what that means. But yeah, there you go. And it says
There's something in the
specifically,
bottle.
hold on.
There's a ladder in the bottle.
That's the sprig of sprig
Oak
of
spiral.
That's the oak spiral.
Oh. When they start off, it's clear.
That's an oak spiral. But here's my fun thing is if you look at the very bottom of the label, it specifically says bottled for Phil Waters.
nice.
Shit.
Wow.
Pass that
I want
around.
to see that.
Fucking swearingen.
That is bananas right there. That is
Look at
all
that.
bananas all the way down.
Is it bananas?
You try?
Yeah, let me try it.
I'll take a slip.
Yeah, pass it up.
Pass it down.
Yeah. So how fun is that?
Yeah.
That is
Also,
excellent.
we do stand the Liberty 150. I just acquired my younger brother's Liberty 150 not too long ago.
That is bananas. Oh my
Tommy
God.
boy.
That is bananas. You want some? Who's in?
Delicious.
That is really, really good.
That is.
Now
It's-
you're bidextrous.
Have you
Or
tried that yet?
Scooter.
Oh, that's good stuff.
And then
It's pretty good.
ideally also, he's not in the biggest hurry to let it go, but my other brother ideally,
Hey,
Tommy, grab that.
Sean, grab that and pass it down.
well, ideally releases CBR 250 to me as well.
Oh wow, you are going to be multilinguist.
I'm trying. Yeah. A cunning linguist.
Cunning linguist.
Multifaceted, multi-wheeled motorcycle enthusiast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, many steeds in the garage.
Does anybody on camera see my hat that Steve bought me?
I did. It says Solvenprobler.
But wait. Here's the thing, right? John wears a specific kind of hat.
he likes
It's not a
does
not a
not
high
like a
one.
trucker hat.
So
Too small for his bulbous dog.
This is perfect.
I saw a T-shirt and I'm like, oh, that's a
beanie
fucking.
with a brim.
I was like, holy
That's
shit!
what
I'm
I
like,
like.
that's a perfect it's a perfect shirt for John. And then I go to that thing, and then the hat, and then I'm like, what are the odds that they'd have the fucking low
That is
hat?
really
I'm like,
good.
fuck. So like, you had to have the hat. They-
Stone fruits and sweet caramel.
It's like a 1940s football coach over there.
Right down the back.
So delightfully smooth.
Oh, it is.
You're like, did you see
It's
that or
special.
hear that thing of Sean Gillis?
I have a pair of nylon shorts with pockets in it, like the
that's-
school like stretchy.
Well, that's what Sean Gillis is on. When he did Saturday Night Live, he goes, you guys are looking at me like you're supposed to be a football coach. And that's what, when I look at John, I'm like, he's supposed to be a football
John
coach.
does look like every Midwestern football coach.
Yeah.
He really does.
a lineman coach.
Yes, he does. He does. Yeah, he's not a running back
You
coach.
have to run some laps.
Exactly. God damn.
I can
that's
see
great.
the whistle in the shorts, dude.
What do you think, Sean?
It's quite delicious.
Oh,
It's fucking
very-
good, man.
like-
yeah.
Very nice and smooth.
It's really delicious. So yeah, what great presents that we got. And again, for Tom's birthday, for Sleepy's birthday.
Yep.
Very fucking cool. Happy
Yep.
to have a birthday
Hip, hip,
podcast.
hoorah.
It is true, right? If anybody's got nothing else? Anybody else?
I think we're good.
Anybody else?
I think we're good.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tom and Sleepy. Happy birthday to you. Ba, 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 ba. All right, happy birthday, everybody. Play us out. Hit the red button. Check